Hey boos, in this video, I give commentary based on my opinion. Nothing is to be taken as factual. We are just here to have conversation. We don't expose and we don't sip tea on this channel. I'm giving you real talk straight, no chaser. Let's see if you can handle it.
Cause I'm a boss. I haven't done anything for you to be proud of.
Of course you have. You are marrying a man who can support you.
Let's get into this, y'all. Last night, I saw the interview. Last night, I saw the interview drop. I did. I sure did. I done talked to a few people today, a few different content creators. All I want to say is this. I just want to make this known before we get into today's video, because I am going to react to it. I have some timestamps. I want to say this. As Black content creators, we need to do a better job of, if we're going to bring people onto our platforms and conduct an interview, we need to do better research. We do. We need to stop bringing people onto our platforms, risk being sued, and not doing the proper research. That is so important because honestly, this situation can go one or two ways. And based off of my own research, one thing that I'm observing from this situation is Denise said that those girls were touched, and ISIS said that those girls were touched. Who touched them is the question. That's the plot. Let's not lose the plot, because neither of these grown women denied that those girls were touched. So now the question has transitioned into, well, who touched them? And as Black women, and I've been calling this out lately about being a girl's girl, right? Sometimes being a girl's girl, it means being neutral. That's what it means. Because you don't want to enable the niece, and she could be protecting the husband. You don't want to enable the mother that makes questionable decisions, because you could be enabling a mother who is protecting her son. So it's best to be neutral. And if you do the research, a lot of things don't make sense when it comes to this story. And then with me watching the interview, there were a lot of inconsistencies, which I'm just going to point out. That's basically my point of view when it comes to doing this reaction, is point out some of the inconsistencies or just things that just don't make sense to me. But I just want to start off by saying that when it comes to he say, she say, one thing that has never been denied is that those girls were not touched. And so it's clear that they were touched. But who touched them? That's the better question. So let's go ahead and get into this interview. So this interview was done with the podcast Hardly Initiated. They did an exclusive live testimony with Isis Morales, aka Paloma. So let's get into it. And I'm going to be very honest. If you're not here for honesty, please click off the video. Also, I want to state this too. I feel bad for real victims. I do. When these situations happen, I feel bad for real victims, because when someone is playing the victim, it makes it harder for real victims to be believed. And a lot of people are wanting to project their own personal situations or stories or traumas on ISIS. And it's like, ISIS is ISIS and your situation is your situation. And you shouldn't be putting your personal trauma or your personal situation or your story on the next person. You should just separate yourself and keep things separated, because we don't know. We really don't know who to believe. And I would hate for you to be misled and to be jerked around emotionally when it comes to your own personal story and your own trauma when it comes to situations like this. And I don't feel like that's fair to you. So it's best that you protect yourself emotionally when it comes to the situation. And that may be clicking out of this video. Okay. So let's go ahead and get into this reaction. Thank you, TTV. Okay, let's get into it. I have my timestamps. And one thing that I will say when it comes to hardly initiated, I'm glad that they brought on a therapist, because the therapist, towards the end, Dr. Spirit, she started to clock the obvious. Okay, let's go back. And the reason I have my stance when it comes to who did it, who touched the girls, I'm gonna show you why. And I'm gonna show you why I have the stance that I have with who actually touched the girls. Okay, we're gonna start with 3:30. I felt like this part of the interview was interesting. Or let me just get past all of their like introductions and stuff like that. And then I'll get to the timestamp here in a sec.
Can come to hardly initiated and tell her own story. So without further ado, I want to welcome my sister here, Isis Morales. Welcome to Hardly Initiated. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you.
How you feeling right now, Isis?
That was a lot watching the video again, because I haven't watched it again since I first uploaded it. So
You haven't watched the video since you uploaded
I
it.
can't, because it's like reliving the experience over again.
Yeah. No,
You know how that is when we watching back our old content. Some of it can be hard to watch. So I can only imagine.
I get it. I get it. I'm happy that you had the courage to come up here today and really speak with us and speak with anybody. I know there's currently a pending case.
Yeah.
Happening.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. There's a pending case currently happening. Open with the conversation what happened. So obviously we're gonna do our best to get as much information as possible. So again, thank you.
And I feel like it's important for me to have it's important for me to educate as well. If you're ever in a situation like this where you're experiencing something like this, the worst thing you could ever do is speak out on a public platform in the middle of an open investigation. And the reason is because it could literally kill your case. Seriously, like all jokes aside, I know this is social media, but the worst thing you could ever do is publicly speak out on a platform. Now, we'll get into her reasons later, but that's the worst thing you could do, is to speak out on a public platform when you're in the middle of a court case and there's an ongoing investigation, because it could literally kill your case. And she knows that. She's been advised that, most likely by prosecutors, attorneys, social workers. She's been educated on that. So this is part of the reason why I'm taking the stance that I'm taking, because honestly, this is not a woman that's operating from a place where she's truly putting her children first. And we can argue about or debate about how she got into this situation, but even after the fact, she's still making questionable choices, which is why a lot of people are being rubbed the wrong way by this interview, because it does not make any sense. If you're truly doing this for your children and it's about your children, then the best thing to do at this time is to remain quiet until this case really truly is closed, until this investigation is conducted in full, because it could ruin your case. So going on, like, I can empathize and say, oh, she wanted to out the abuser, she wanted to out the predator. I can empathize with that. But to do this interview was a little much. It was a little much for me. Not gonna lie. It was a little much.
Thank you for being here. We're going to get into the conversation shortly. Thank you for all the initiates that were patient in the chat. I had to get my girl Isis straight and make sure she was ready for the show here.
Right.
If you're ready, put a "we ready" in the chat. All right, because we are excited to have this conversation here tonight. All right.
Yeah, highly anticipated. I told you before the show, my mom's been keeping up with the story. So she not on YouTube. She's not keeping up with stuff. So
When you said that, it's just unbelievable. It's
Oh, yeah.
unbelievable. I didn't expect it to have this impact at all.
I mean, it's
I'm
impacting
sure.
people of all shapes, sizes, generations, and genders. for
Over
sure.
probably 2.5 million views
Yep.
in just a few weeks. You know, I don't think anybody would have expected, you know, the video to, you know, to have that kind of impact. But we're gonna go into some of that today here, which I'm very excited about, Isis. The
Yeah.
first thing I want to do before is talk about our episode sponsor here, because our episode
Yeah.
sponsor, the Fight the Flesh bracelet. I want everybody to rock, especially if you're my initiates. Go ahead, copy a nice gold-plated
Big facts.
Fight the Flesh.
I don't see any content creators pointing this out, but I wanted to point this out to you because what the niece said, a lot of people feel like I'm just taking her side just because of what she said. I'm like, no, what the niece said, if you actually go and you do the research, it aligns with what is going on offline, not what is going on online. And so it was the reason why I was more inclined to believe the niece. It wasn't because of Black men. A lot of people are wanting to use that narrative, but if you actually go and you look into the situation, it just made more sense based off of what the niece was saying, based off of what is currently going on offline. And unfortunately, the niece beat ISIS to the punch when it comes to that information. So now we don't know really what to believe. But one thing that I do want to point out, let's get into these bracelets, because I felt like this part in the interview, people kind of overlooked. So on this bracelet, it says, fight the flesh. Fight the flesh, right? Listen to what ISIS says and remember what the niece said. And if I need to bring up what the niece said, I'll bring it up. But remember what the niece said, and fight the flesh is what's on the bracelet, right? But listen to what ISIS said.
Bracelet, it is going to be, and we give you a special discount live for 10% off.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the description. Another piece of your armor.
Fight the flesh is the mantra, guys. And this is the thing. We need a daily reminder to continue to remind us of all the things that we are fighting daily. And a lot of times you can have a list of all the things you got to overcome. And many times the main thing is yourself. So if you are on your own list, I know I am, then you absolutely need to get one of these. And my favorite thing is when we run into people that's wearing them and rocking them religiously. I just love that.
No, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
need one for my son. I need one for my son.
You know what?
We're going to send the whole
Myself.
fam one.
We gonna
We'll send the
send-
whole fam one.
We,
We can
we
do that.
sending the Fight the Flesh bracelet.
I thought that was interesting that the first thing that came out of her mouth was, I need that for my son. I need that for my son. A woman with 5 kids that's going through such a tragic situation. The first thing out of her mouth is, I need that for my son. I need that for my son. I need that for my son. Fight the flesh bracelet.
If you're my initiates, go ahead, copy a nice gold-plated
Big facts.
Fight the Flesh bracelet. It is going to be, and we give you a special discount live for 10% off.
Yeah.
It's going to be in the description. Another piece of your armor.
Fight the flesh is the mantra, guys. And this is the thing. We need a daily reminder to continue to remind us of all the things that we are fighting daily. And a lot of times you can have a list of all the things you got to overcome. And many times the main thing is yourself. So if you are on your own list, I know I am, then you absolutely need to get one of these. And my favorite thing is when we run into people that's wearing them and rocking them religiously. I just love that.
No, absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
need one for my son. I need one for my son.
You know what?
We're going to send the whole
Myself.
fam
We
one.
gonna
We'll send the
send-
whole fam one.
We,
We can
that
do
we
that.
sending the Fight the Flesh bracelets
A care
over
package.
to you, Isis. So we
Yeah.
got you. And guys, for those of you who want to get active in the show, you know, super chats is
But that's not the only weird thing she said about her son. But we're going to move on. We're going to move on. I thought that was weird. So let's get into when she discusses the family business. So I thought that was kind of weird. I'm like, girl, you got 5 kids. But her son needs that bracelet. Her son, because she got married 5 years ago at the time that she married her current about to be ex-husband. The baby or her son was 5, and then her other son was 2. And so he's 10 now. Like, he's 10 years old. He's probably either 9 or 10 years old. So I don't know. I kind of thought that was weird. Like, why would a child need a fight the flesh bracelet? I just thought that was kind of weird. Not gonna lie. But let's move on, right? I'm just being objective. I like I said, one thing's for sure. Neither of these women have denied that those girls were touched. So let's not lose the plot, but this interview just did not help her situation. Okay, so let's continue. She talks about her family business.
A neighbor's wife was supposed to be watching me after school. And
What I mean by family business, because her family does have a business. I mean, like, she gives you a bit of a backstory about how she grew up, her home life, and things like that when she was younger.
her husband was taking advantage. And I was only 8 years old at this time.
Wow.
And I didn't tell my mother for a while because it was just confusing and I was scared and I thought I would get in trouble. Oh my goodness.
Take your time.
So just to summarize that, I want to make sure I understand. You had was it a single family home growing up? Your
Yes.
mom, she was a obviously hardworking woman that had to provide for the
very
family
much so.
all by
And
herself.
in school, always like has a PhD, all the above. My mom has really like strived. Every woman in my family, even my grandmother, it started with her. I mean, she owns a business, a very successful woman. There's multiple entrepreneurs in my family. So we've always just been, just go get it, make it happen. And I've always been that way. Before meeting my husband, I always worked, provided for my children. I never got child support for my 2 boys. I took care of them. I luckily was able to secure a job with a family business, so I was able to work from home. But it's what I had prayed for when I was pregnant with my second son, because his father got incarcerated when I was 6 months pregnant. And I didn't know what I was going to do because it was just going to be me. And he didn't get out until my son was about 9 months old. But I had to figure it out. And thank you to my aunt and uncle for giving me that opportunity to be able to be home with my children and provide for them. And we had a nice apartment and, we had all the good things. I had my own car. I had all my own stuff. But I remember it was one Christmas when it was just us. And I said, you know what? I would like to be married. And I had never said that before. I never wanted to be married just because, I haven't really seen a lot of successful marriages in my life. So when, I'm sorry, I'm talking too far away. But when I had that Christmas, it dawned on me that, maybe I should really like put myself out there and try to find a good man for these kids. And, I had 2 boys and I feel like they needed a good fatherly example because they didn't have it.
Now, we definitely want to dig into that as well. And I want to go back because I don't want to just breeze past this incident that happened at 8 years old.
Yeah.
Now, you get assaulted by a neighbor's
Yes.
husband. And where's your father at this point? He's just...
My biological father is much older than my mother. He took advantage of her when she was a young girl in high school. I think I remember my mom saying she was in labor trying to take her SATs.
Wow.
And she was the pregnant girl in high school. And, it's unfortunate that he preyed on her like that. But there's so many men like this out there and people just don't talk about it.
And so the situation is your mother coming from an abusive relationship. Now she has you, you're 8 years old. You go through this traumatic experience with the spouse of a neighbor.
Yeah.
And let's fast forward a bit because if I'm not mistaken, you had your first child at 17.
Yes.
So before having this child, what did sex look like to you at this point? Like when was your first sexual experience kind of getting active?
Probably when I was about 13. I lost my virginity to a 17-year-old boy in high school. And
y'all, her story doesn't make sense to me because she's saying that she comes from a very good family, but a 13-year-old girl losing her virginity to a boy in high school, how? Like, it doesn't make sense because typically when these type of situations happen, I'm not saying they don't happen, but I'm saying typically they happen in certain type of childhood homes, certain type of households. And at 13, were you into some extracurricular I'm like, a 13-year-old girl going missing it's just hard to believe without supervision. You know what I mean? At 13. Now, at I say around 16, your parents tend to give you a little more freedom where you're able to go out and kind of like have a little freedom and have some space to explore as a 16-year-old. But a 13-year-old girl, where was your mother then? Because she talks about how her mother is this wonderful person. I'm not here to take that away from her, but how are you able to get away with this at 13? At 13? I don't know. That just is, I don't know. It's harder to believe. It's hard to believe based off of how she told the story about her mother and her grandmother and her family and everything. But then you lost your virginity at 13 to a boy that was in high school. At that time, you were in middle school and he was in high school. You probably were like in 8th grade. So that was crazy. But let's continue.
Yeah, I mean, I was always told just don't have sex growing up. I don't know if that's what a lot of people in our community say.
They hear that a lot, I'm
just
sure.
don't do it. It's not really openly discussed about why and what can happen, and even personal experiences that may sway a young girl away from making certain decisions.
Now, in her original video, she said that okay, so she dated this boy when she was I want to say well, she lost her virginity at 13. But remember when she said when it comes to the first child, somebody said at 13 I was being dropped off to the skating rink at the end of the, and see, that's what I'm saying. For this to take place, you had to have grown up in a certain type of household. The type of household she's describing does not make sense with how she was able to lose her virginity, unless her mother was always working, her mother was never around, but she never really went into details about that. But she did say that she grew up in a single mother household. Her dad was never really around. So maybe that's where it took place. But I don't know. She kind of made it seem like her grandmother was kind of heavily involved in raising her. But I don't know. I don't know. She didn't really go into great detail about that. But it does seem like Isis has a history of being overly infatuated with the opposite sex. It seems like she's kind of been a little boy crazy majority of her life. That's what it does sound like. But I don't know. But y'all let me know. Like, were you able to just kind of roam free at 13? At 13? Were you able to kind of just roam free? Let me know. But I'm going to move on. Because you could be right about that. You know, maybe she just had more freedom compared to other 13-year-old girls. Because that could be true. But let's move on to, I thought this was kind of weird too. She mentioned that she wanted to have more kids. And I don't know, I just kind of thought that was weird.
And it was that Christmas that I told you where I was like, you know, I really need to create a family for my children. Gotcha. And, you know, just do things the right way. And I knew I wanted more children. I love my babies. I think I'll have another one in 10 years, maybe. But
she wants to have another kid in 10 years after this traumatic event that just happened with her 2 girls. I mean, I guess.
Right now, that's just not on my mind at all. I have 5 beautiful babies, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of them, and they're my reason and my purpose. But I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought.
No, you fine. I just wanted to get an idea of what kind of inspired you to get back into the dating market, which it sounds like you wanting to start a family.
It was that.
Start fresh.
It was that. Just wanting to find a good man that.
And you know, it's crazy because people are kind of gaslighting us about why we don't believe her story. But I'm like, you don't trust men, but you want to have another child in 10 years? Like, that's crazy. After a situation that just happened with your 2 daughters, I wouldn't even be thinking about that. I wouldn't. Like, y'all, I remember after my essay, I didn't even want a man touching me. Like, I had this big ick when it comes to a man touching me, let alone looking at me. I didn't want the opposite sex looking at me, touching me. I didn't want to be around the opposite sex alone. Like, I had paranoia really, 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 really bad. So that's why I was just like, I guess I remember during this time, I didn't even let people hug me. Like, no hugging, don't touch me. And don't look at me. Like I had like it was just too much. But I'm saying like her mindset doesn't make sense. It's inconsistent. You're saying you want to have more kids in 10 years, but you don't trust men. So you're gonna have a child again, and you don't trust men? Because that makes sense. But let's move on. Let's move on to this part that I really didn't understand. It seems like she has this weird vendetta against Cher. I don't understand why she continuously feels the need to throw her under the bus. It's like she has it out for her. I don't know. I felt like this whole part here was kind of weird.
The hypergamous queen, you know, her videos are shared, sprinkle videos everywhere.
I just learned about the sprinkle. I didn't know about it.
I knew. A lot of people are new to this, but I was true to it because I was following before there was 100,000 subscribers.
Okay, moving forward, I won't be talking about my personal experience because I know how to separate myself. So moving forward, I'm going to continue to separate my experience, and we're just going to talk about how her story does not make sense. Okay. All right, let's continue.
Subscribers like me and my sisters, and you know,
That's Shira 7.
Shira 7, yes.
And I recently checked out her page, thousands and thousands of views. And she's been doing it for a very long time.
For sure.
Yes. So I was telling every woman that I met in person, like, you know, there's a content creator that makes really good content just about, really, it seemed like how women could take their power back is how it felt. That's how it felt at the time.
Yeah. So that when you went from a place of not wanting marriage at all, and then you started to want marriage. Was she a part of the reason?
I believe that, you know what? Probably. And I hate to say that, but probably it just seemed more secure for a family. It just seemed right. It just seemed more stable, like we would be on a solid foundation. And I prayed to God about it because, you know, you can subscribe to certain things that people talk about, but you don't have to subscribe to everything that they talk about. And I've always had a relationship with God, and Jesus is the one true Lord. And I prayed about it and asked God to send me the right man. It wasn't just about what he had. It was never about what he had. Because if it was about that, I had a lot of other options with more. And
so she's saying that in the short period of time that she knew this man, it wasn't about what he had. But how do you even know who he is? That's what I'm not understanding. How do you even know who he is in such a short period of time? It has to be about what he has because you don't really know who he is. And Sharon never talked about marrying a man in a week. Like that's insane. So she's saying that it was about who he was. Well, how do you know who someone is if you got married to them in less than a week? Doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. And that's not how she told the story in her YouTube video. She said, single mom. The title of her video is Single Mom to Spoiled Housewife in Less Than a Year. She doesn't really, let me see if she even mentions God. God is Lord. Like I don't recall her mentioning any of that. I got to go back because I really don't remember.
Hey ladies, welcome back to the new Trophy Wife. Today I'm going to be sharing my story with you guys about how I went from being a single mom to a spoiled housewife in less than 1 year. And you can too. So I had my first child when I was 17 years old. I intentionally got pregnant with my boyfriend at the time and basically turned into a child raising a child. A few years later, had my second child. So after having 2 children and being a single mom, I think that my self-esteem was definitely low. I didn't know that at the time, but if I think back about the kind of men that I was choosing, it definitely 24-year-old woman was good. I thought I was doing good. I had my own place. I owned my car. I was very self-sufficient, all about the mindset of, oh, I can do it by myself. I don't need a man, as so many of us modern women say, you know, I can do it all by myself. And I soon realized after one Christmas of it just being me and my 2 boys that I wanted a family. I wanted more for myself. It felt so lonely and it was sad. It was really sad. And it was, I'd say, one of the lowest points in my life. And I realized that I don't want to do this on my own. I don't want to raise these boys on my own. I want a family. I want someone that I can love, someone that loves me and my children. And after that was when I decided that I was going to change the kind of men I was dating and what I was attracting. One of my sisters at the time had told me that I should create an online profile. And I was so against doing that because I'm with the swag. Like I thought that was the man that I should be going after, but that was definitely not the type of man that I should have been going after. And I learned quickly that just because someone looks like they have it together does not mean that they have it together. And typically the things that person is probably doing to get money is not sustainable and probably not something that you would want to be involved in. And after learning quickly that everything that glitters is not gold, I happened to come across Shira 7 on YouTube, and she completely changed my life. And my husband and I have a 20-year age gap, and he was not the first older man that I dated. I actually dated someone 10 years older than me, and that was just a buzz. A lot of people have told me that I'm very mature for my age, so someone 10 years older than me just wasn't a big enough age gap for me to vibe with. It just wasn't. Yeah. So when I met my husband, I knew right away almost, and people say that, but it was definitely true. I know it sounds cliche. Just from our first date, it just felt natural. I felt like I just had known this person already. It was so comfortable. So we went to a really nice seafood restaurant, and it was great. It was an amazing first date. And mind you, I think we both were kind of just dating different people at the time. And that's definitely something that I recommend if you're looking to, you know, find a husband. It's not just dating one person at a time. It's not good to put all your eggs in one basket. But we had a great first date. And I think he ended up asking me to be his girlfriend on the first date. And I said I would think about it. I know that the universe guru talks about how you shouldn't fall into the girlfriend trap. And it was kind of something that I just intuitively knew, like, I'm not just going to agree to be your girlfriend just after meeting you, because I know that you just want me to be your girlfriend so that you can get in my pants. So I didn't agree. And we both were, we were talking, but then for some reason we kind of stopped talking for a little while. And we both were dating other people and doing our own thing. And then I had gotten into a serious relationship with somebody, and I ended up falling for the girlfriend trap. But that guy had really been investing a lot into me and doing a lot for me, so I kind of felt like I had to agree to be his girlfriend because he asked me multiple times, and I finally agreed. So after me and him broke up, well, let me rewind. So me and him ended up breaking up because he just didn't really vibe with my oldest son, who was 5 at the time. I could tell that he was really just putting up with my kids. He didn't really embrace them. Together, I know we were living together, and I just like packed all my stuff and left. And it was crazy because the next day, my now husband, reached out to me and was like, "Hey, how are you doing?" And I told him, I just got out of a relationship, and I kind of told him a little bit about why. And he was telling me like, "Oh, those are my boys," and he had genuinely really connected with my kids, and he was not the kind of man that was just be nice to them to get to me. Like, it was very genuine, and that was one of the things that I really loved about him. That was something that stood out about him versus other men that I had dated, was he really embraced the fact that I had children because he wanted children. And so, he was talking, my lease was going to be ending very soon, which is why I went ahead and moved in with my person that had became my ex. We started living together, and I told my husband, I was like, "Hey," it was so embarrassing to him, but I was like, "I need a place to stay because my lease is ending, and I just broke up with my."
God was, like I said, I don't remember God being mentioned. I don't remember, but okay. And listen, do I think her husband is predatory? Yeah, at the level of him wanting young girls. Like, yeah, I do. I think that shit is weird. But we talk about this all the time. It wouldn't, just because this is a different situation and her story doesn't add up, doesn't mean that 2 things, 3 things can't be right at the same time. So I don't know. It didn't sound like God was really a part of her decision. It seemed like she was in a bind and she needed to make a decision quick because it didn't seem like she had that many choices. But now she's saying it was God. So, and y'all know how I feel about that. People using God as a crutch when it comes to choices that just really, truly don't make sense.
It was really about how he treated my children because he seemed to love my boys. And he said, "Oh, those are my boys. You remind me of my mom. She was a single mom with 2 boys." And I would just love to help you and be there for you and be the man you guys need. Oh my gosh.
So you know what? I want to, before we actually get deep into, this situation that took place with your husband, I think it's important to, talk about the impact. I'm actually happy you shared that because, we had that we had a debate just the other night where that was a part of the conversation because who you watch and learn from, that's discipleship. That's mentorship.
Oh my goodness.
That's who you are, in submission to.
Yes.
Under their leadership.
You know what? That's so true.
The thing about it is
What? Y'all, this is not a discipleship over here. This is not a cult. I say that all the time. This is not a cult. All right. You are able to free think over here. This is not a cult. This is not that. All right. If you come to me, you want some advice, you want some big sister advice, I'm here for you. But baby, this is not a cult over here. Like what? You don't just take everything one person says. That's crazy. I don't know about that one. But let me, that's just too much. Okay, let's move on to this one. She continues to blame Cher, claims that her daughter was a sacrificial lamb, y'all. She stated in this interview that her daughter was a sacrificial lamb. And I'm just like, that's such a weird thing to say. Just listen. Because did y'all catch this?
Safety and security. Like, what was
At
it? A
that
particular lesson or principle that was given to you?
I think that a lot of times, like I stated before, that women are taught that their value is in what's between their legs. And she was the first person that said that it was true. And you don't have to give it away to just anybody. A man should be worth your time. He should be, taking you out. He should be investing in you. He should be making your life easier if he cares about you. And that's what I took away from it.
I think that makes sense.
I want to ask you this because, right now, hindsight, with where you are today, do you feel like that was the healthiest content to digest, or do you have any regrets in really watching that content to help guide your decision making?
So funny thing about me is I don't have regrets. I believe that God is working in perfect order, in perfect timing, and there's nothing that happens that he has not approved or seen. And
What?
unfortunately, our family, not just our family, but our family in public have, especially my daughters, have had to be sacrificial lambs in the result of what has happened. And
what? Like, did y'all hear this shit? Y'all, this is disgusting to me. Like, I gotta be honest with you. I do. This is disgusting to me. This is disgusting to me. And people are just wanting to come at some of us that are really comprehending what she's saying. She says she has no regrets. You don't have a regret when it comes to marrying a man less than a week? Y'all, it's just weird to me. But okay, so that was another part of the interview that I was like, what? All right, and then let's move on. Then she also claims that Shara is the reason she decided to date older men, but it seems like she's always been into older men. She's always been into older guys. Like, even when she was about that thug life and she was dating the dusty Tyrones, she has always been into older guys. But right here, she scapegoats accountability and she blames Shara again. And I'm like, girl, do you believe that you did anything wrong?
23.
Mhm.
Did you have any reservations about his age, or was that a concern at all, or was
it a
that just
plus?
a typical right?
Mm,
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't get introduced to dating older men until I've started watching Share 7.
Mm.
Um, she just basically said, I mean, they have,
They got money.
yeah, exactly. They can be a better man to you. They can provide for you in the way that you would like and your kids, and so I was like, okay. And it was a bit odd at first because I didn't initially.
Listen, this is so disingenuous. Y'all, why is she throwing Cher under the bus? It just does not make any sense to me. Girl, you was out here chasing them thugs that had a little bit of money in their pocket, and then Cher put you on game and said, stop dealing with the dusty thugs and get you a man that is a provider instead of dating the thugs. Y'all, she's pissing me off. I don't like it when people lie like this. Like, it's already bad enough because I'm a content creator and people take the things that I say and they twist them and turn them into something that I never said. Cher never said this bullshit. She was out here chasing the thugs that had a little bit of money in their pocket. And then Cher was putting down game about how to get an actual provider man and stop chasing the thug dusties. And now she's trying to make it seem like Cher is the one that planted that seed in her mind to date older men. Girl, be so for real. You lost your virginity at 13 to a boy in high school. Cher wasn't even around then. So what are we talking about? That doesn't make any sense to me. And I don't know why she's doing this. It's almost, and then another thing too is the host. They're kind of feeding into this. They're leaning into this. Like, they're kind of leaning into the fact that this is a horrible message that shouldn't be taught to women. It's just a whole setup. So they're kind of leaning into it too. And they're allowing her to lead in that way when it comes to this conversation. And it's just so disingenuous to me. I don't like it. Okay. Like, I didn't know it was a crime to want a provider man. We just did the mortgage prank. If you saw the mortgage prank from TikTok, that is all Cher is talking about. Okay. Okay, let me move on. And then she also talks about how she didn't move in fast. It wasn't based, well, her reason for moving in fast wasn't a financial decision.
Deciding to be a husband, a lot of what the noise is that it was solely a financial decision that was
No.
made. What's the truth behind the decision? What did you see in him to actually make him your husband?
He was so good with my boys. He was so good with them. Even my oldest son responded to him in a way that he didn't respond to with my ex. And I paid attention to those little things because I would gladly leave a man if he didn't mesh well with my kids.
It's so weird. She barely knew this man, but she keeps talking about that the reason why she chose him was because he was so good with her boys. You don't know him. And I had to talk to some mothers. I talked to Neek at night, and she's a mother of an 11-year-old girl, and no way in hell she's allowing anybody to meet her kids like that. So I don't know. I have an aunt too. She was raising my cousin, and she remained single for years. She never allowed anyone around her daughter. It wasn't until she graduated high school where she started dating again. And the family really gave her a hard time about that. So, and now that I'm older, I'm like, oh, she was protecting her daughter. So it's just, I guess. I really think that this was a financial decision, even though she's saying it wasn't. But that's not the picture she painted in this video.
Boyfriend, and maybe even if it's just like for a couple weeks, it's okay. Just while I look for somewhere else, because I had planned on needing to find somewhere else. And he was saying, well, if you're going to live with me, it's going to be as my wife, not as my girlfriend. And I was like, well, how spontaneous are you? And he laughed and he said, very spontaneous. So then I was like, right. So we started entertaining the idea of getting married, like, immediately. And I, didn't want to get my hopes up. So I just said that, he's saying all these things, but I'm going to see what action that he takes. And so I had just got paid and I was like, okay, we seem like we're really talking about seriously entertaining the idea of getting married. So I'm going to go and get the wedding ring. We were talking about getting married like the next week, and he was out of town in Colorado. So we hadn't seen each other. This is all talk over the phone, over FaceTime. So I went and got his ring. I think I paid like $300 for it. It wasn't like a super flashy ring like the one he has now, which is completely a lot better. But I went and got his ring, and the next time we talked on FaceTime, I was like, I did something. And he was like, what did you do? I was like, I got your.
And then she keeps mentioning, oh, it wasn't super flashy, but I spent $300. It wasn't super flashy, but it's different than the one that he has now. But God was all up and through this relationship, y'all. Apparently, I don't know. Maybe it's us. Maybe it's us. I know she was changing her voice a lot. And you're going to see that, especially when the therapist comes on and she starts getting triggered. I don't know why, but I really felt like Isis is like threatened by other women. I don't know why, but she seems very intimidated by other women. But let's go back to this interview.
And I had did that with the man that I was in a more serious relationship with right before we got married, because I had started, like, that was the man that we started looking at rings, and the relationship was, moving forward. And
now she's saying we were looking at rings, but in your original video, you said that you went and got a ring and bought a ring.
Had moved in.
There was another gentleman that you met, and I believe you said that you got caught in the girlfriend stage.
Yeah.
So could you detail what that relationship, how did you meet that guy, how did things kind of get started, and what exactly was the girlfriend stage?
We met online, and he just was, very consistent. He just wanted to do anything to make my life easier. What can I do for you? What do you need? Very nice.
There was another gentleman that you met, and I believe you said that you got caught in the girlfriend stage.
Yeah.
So could you detail what that relationship, how did you meet that guy, how did things kind of get started, and what exactly was the girlfriend stage?
We met online, and he just was, very consistent. He just wanted to do anything to make my life easier.
Watch how she talks about her son again.
What can I do for you? What do you need? Very nice. And perfect gentleman. But he was nice to my children. All of the men were nice to my children. Like, if I met, there's probably 3 men that met my children. All of them were nice. But with him in particular, because we started to live together and, it was a little bit more of an intimate setting, I feel like him and my oldest son clashed a little bit, because my oldest son, I kind of always let him be the little man of the house in a way.
The baby, the little boy at that time was 5. 5, right? So I'm like, okay, but let's go back just a little bit, because I'm like, okay.
Son, I kind of always let him be the little man of the house in a way. And he's very, very smart and highly intelligent child. And he, is not just going to let any man come in and think that he's the boss right away. So there was an issue, and he said something about, can your son, stay with a relative for a little bit?
Wow.
And I said, oh, you mean, can we go stay somewhere? That's what you mean. And I packed my stuff right away. My sister came and got me and all my stuff. And because it took 2 cars, I had my car and she came with her car to get my stuff. And he brought my TV and stuff, like all the bigger things he brought. I asked him to.
So let's rewind, because on record, I believe it's her second baby daddy. I think it's the second one. Yeah, it's the second baby daddy that is fighting to get full custody of his son, which would be the older son's younger brother. We don't know why, right? So that's interesting to me. But y'all, that was weird to me. Like, I'm sorry. And what the niece said, it's like, I don't know what to believe anymore, because I'm like, the bracelet situation, fight the flesh. Then this is how she's talking about her oldest son. And you could tell she's always like talking about, what son she's referring to. You automatically know what son she's referring to. So it's just very strange to me. Like, and I would hate to support her blindly and then later find out that it was her son. So I don't know. It's just my thoughts, my opinions. It's just very weird to me. So I don't know. This part really rubbed my spirit the wrong way when I was watching it, and it just made me very uncomfortable. Very, very, very uncomfortable. Let's see what else.
Bring it back the next day. But I left and I went back to my apartment, which I had to be out of soon, and I didn't plan to need to, do anything else because I thought the relationship was moving forward. I was his girlfriend, but, he was taking very good care of me and he seemed like a good guy.
So what was the real issue with, because y'all, a man saying, can he go stay at a relative's house? Not your younger son. He didn't say, hey, can your boys go stay at a relative's house? He said, can your son, and what son do you think that he was referring to? Because it wasn't like he said, can your boys go stay at a family member's house? He said, can your son? What is the issue with the son, y'all? It's very weird to me. So I don't know. So we're going to move on. She talks here about, basically this part is about how she moves on very quickly. She doesn't seem to really plan things out, and she's just moving these kids around without really planning things out, and with their best interests in consideration. Honestly, it doesn't seem like she considers that at all.
You decide at some point you want to move in with him.
Yes.
And what was the living situation? Is it he's already has a place where he occupies, and then you and your two boys move in? Okay, got you. And how long were you dating before the relationship ends?
I mean, we're moving pretty quickly. They're moving pretty quickly. I can't quantify a time. I can't remember exactly, but things moved pretty quickly. But he seemed like a good man, and I worked from home. So I always was able to keep an eye on my children. That was part of it. I was never leaving them with him. And no, I don't care if I have boys. I know people are crazy.
That makes sense. And in hindsight, with you and the boys moving in with this gentleman, is that something that you think the typical single mother just has to kind of, be concerned with in terms of moving their children in with, somebody that they're getting to know? Does marriage and commitment, or what level of commitment should be taking place before a woman does something like that?
Back then, if you would have asked me that, I would have said, if a man's going to take care of you and your kids, and that's a good man, take it. But now, it's hard to even have the words. You have to be so careful. Because men are not just doing this to stepchildren, they're doing this to their own children too. And that's something that's just very scary and incomprehensible, to be honest.
I understand.
So now this situation that happens, because now you're back in your apartment. You didn't expect to be here, and it sounds like.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to be one of those people that, like, I have to go back to the plot, right? Like, the plot is the niece spoke out, she spoke out. Neither woman denied that those girls were touched. But I can't sit here and just pretend like I don't see red flags in this interview. I see a lot of red flags. And it doesn't make sense to me, because when you're a woman and something has happened to you or your children, you can speak out on social media and you will be well supported. So there's no need in fluffing it up. There's no need in not being 100% honest about what happened. There's no need in you just telling half truths, because women are going to support you regardless. Like, typically women support you no matter what, even when you're wrong. So I just don't get her reasoning behind her not telling the full truth or not telling the whole story when it comes to the situation. And then, you know, what's not fair? What's not fair when it comes to the situation, like, people are mad at other people who just don't want to blindly believe her. But let's remember how we were introduced to her. We were introduced to a woman who was imposing, she was presenting herself on the internet as an imposter, because who she is wasn't who she actually is in real life. So she was creating this persona, Isis Morale, even though her real name is Paloma, and she was online teaching women how to date and be hypergamous and how to get an older man with money. And she's teaching women that, you know, you need to lose weight every day. When you wake up, you need to be thinking about how you're going to lose weight today. You probably need to do a water fast, right? But the whole time she was giving this advice on her platform, she was in and out of court. Her husband was filing a DV against her. Then she was filing a DV against him. And they were like kind of like going back and forth for like a whole year. But she was still showing up online, presenting this persona, Isis Morale, about how her life is so perfect. She's a trophy wife. Her husband is perfect. Her life is perfect. She has this, she has that. I think it's really unfair to take issue with people who don't want to blindly believe what she's saying because of how we were introduced to her. And this is why it's important when you present yourself online, you need to be authentic. You need to carry integrity, because when it comes to a situation like this, where something may happen to you or something may happen to your children, you want people to believe you. But it's hard to believe someone that set up and just basically lied about her life and about who she really is and about what she's really about, just to make some money, basically, just to get some money, just to build a platform, just to have clout behind her name. So I think it's unfair to say like, oh, I don't understand why you don't just believe her blindly. It just doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't, especially when she was on her platform creating the content that she was creating, and it was all about the money. So let's continue.
Now we got some financial issues taking place.
Yeah.
And so what's the solution at this point?
It was crazy because when I prayed that night, he called me the next morning, and it was random. Like, I hadn't talked to him in a few weeks. And
again, it was like, why was this prayer? Why wasn't this mentioned in her original story when she talked about this originally? Like, prayer, God, I just, it's interesting to me.
you know, he would check in every time, but he just wasn't a priority. But he said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I said, you know, just getting out of a relationship, and you know, it didn't work out. Him and my oldest son didn't mesh well. And he said, well, you know, I love your boys. You know,
again, she mentions the older son again. She mentions the older son again. And so her last man had an issue with the older son, but not the younger son. Interesting. And then okay, hold on. Let's continue.
They're good boys. I mean, they're and the way my sons responded to him when the 2 times that they had met him was very good. Was very good.
And then here she says they're good boys. But when the bracelet was mentioned, she never said, oh yeah, let me get those bracelets for my boys. So I don't know. Like I said, it's very interesting to me, but let's continue.
And he seemed like a good guy. I mean, his parents own their own church, and he seemed to have all the values and all the right things and said all the right things. And I was like, you know, this is the only man that I feel like I've really been able to connect with God with. And that was something that was really powerful to me, because I feel like that was missing in, you know, any other relationships that I entered.
And again, why was this never mentioned in the original storytelling? If it was so powerful, right? Why wouldn't you talk about that? Why wouldn't you encourage women on your platform with that message? If it was so powerful, it was so endearing, it was so transformative in your life, why was that never mentioned?
Entertained is I didn't feel like we had a strong faith bond. And you know, when you meet certain people and you just know that you can just talk about the Lord, it's okay just to talk about the Lord and how good God is, and just, you know.
I need a drink.
And I had that with him, and that was definitely a part of the choosing. I prayed and I said, God, please give me a sign if this is right. And I feel like God gave me all the green lights. I feel like he did. And I still feel like he did. And I just didn't know that God wanted to use us. But that's just what ended up happening.
Do you feel like what he told you, or that love that he said he had, do you feel like that was genuine love, or was that predatory?
I'm unsure, because he didn't touch my boys. He did not. He did not. They've been interviewed. I asked them as soon as my daughter told me, and I always ask them, even.
And you want to know why she's making it known that her husband didn't touch the boys, because if she would say that there's potential that he did, the second baby daddy would get full custody of her second son, which is, she does not want that. So she's going to deny whether it's true or not, which is also interesting to me, whether it's true or not. Because a lot of people are like, how do you know he didn't touch them? How do you not know? The reason why she's so adamant about, oh, he didn't touch them, is because if she were to say that there's a possibility that he did, she would lose custody of the second son. Okay, that's what that's about. Because the second baby daddy, he's married and he has a wife, children. I believe he also has a business, and he's been trying to get full custody of his son for a while. So if she were to come out and say that, oh, he it's a possibility that either of her sons could have been touched, right? Then it's a possibility that he could probably now go take her back to court and possibly get full custody. Okay. So I don't know why she's so adamant about, oh, he didn't touch. How can you say that? Because you said that you missed all the signs when it came to your daughters. So how can you say that he didn't do it to the boys like that? I don't know. I feel so bad for these kids, y'all. I really do. Okay, let's continue.
Before my daughter said that, because he's not their father. And I'll never trust a man 100% with my kids. I was always looking at him, even him changing our daughter's diapers. He would even say, oh, you know, I don't feel comfortable changing them because they're girls. Why don't you change them? Played the role so perfectly. He knew everything to say. But I almost wonder, did he want children? Because he really wanted children. That was a condition of our marriage.
The oldest is 10, either 9 or 10 years old. She's been married. They met. The oldest son was 5 when they met. They've been married for 5 years. So he has to be 9 or 10, 9 and a half, maybe 10.
Marriage. It was a condition.
What do you mean a condition? That's something like he wrote it down, or
that's what he said. He said, you know, when we started talking about the marriage, and he said, you know, I just really want to have kids. You know, I haven't had any kids yet, and he's an older man. And I thought it was odd that he hadn't had any kids yet. But he said, you know, God just hasn't blessed me with kids yet, and I really, you know, want to have kids of my own. And I said, I'm willing to do that. I mean, if you're my husband, okay. And I wonder, was he did he have intentions? Because someone close to me said that sometimes predators like to grow their own prey. And that's a really sad thing. But there's stories of it.
Now, I want to go back just a bit, because you have...
Baby, she could be lying about her age, because she said when she met that man, her son was 5. They've been married for 5 years. They rushed into marriage. So so maybe 10, 11 at best, but maybe she could be lying about her age. Girl, At this point, I don't know who this woman is. I need to go back and look at the case to see when she was born, to see how old she really is. Because at this point, I don't know. But she said that the baby was 5 when they got together. Her son was 5. So I don't know.
I've just moved out with your 2 sons back into your apartment, and now you're entertaining.
I thought, listen, I thought it was weird when she talked about the whole diaper conversation that she had with her husband. Why do you, that's not a conversation you have with your husband. But if he is a predator, though, see, I'm able to entertain the fact that he could possibly be a predator. But if he is a predator, right, I could see how a predator would say something like that to kind of get your defenses down. But I do feel like it's kind of weird, simply because it's like, why are you afraid to change your own child's diaper? Like, that's weird. But unless he was playing her, because predators do that. So I don't know. All right. I don't know. But we not gonna lie. That part was weird, but I don't want to dismiss it, because if he is a predator, that could have been a sign she missed, just being honest.
In conversation, potentially dating again with your husband. How long after you move into your apartment do you accept his invitation to now move in?
Within days.
Okay.
Within days. I mean, it was, I think that first conversation.
Days, y'all. Days. Come on now.
Like one of the first few conversations he was like, well, I told him what I was going through. And I said, I just need a place to stay for a little bit just to figure it out. And he said, well, if you come here, you're going to be my wife. And that was sexy to me. I was like,
Because
these days of our lives.
Wow.
Then she talks about how she married him within a week.
And that span from the time you moved in to the time you guys got married, how long was that?
From the time we got married and moved in?
Well, from the time you moved into his place.
I didn't live with him before we got married.
Oh, wow. So
No.
Better question. From the time from that phone call you guys had to marriage, how long was that?
1 week.
That's crazy.
It was a week.
Okay.
It was a week. And I didn't live there until the day after.
Now, y'all, if y'all watched my original reaction to this, I was defending Isis hard, right? Because this was my first time being introduced to her. This was my first time learning about her, right? And I felt like the internet was dogpiling her because of the lifestyle that she was promoting and some of the little condescending remarks that she would make. So she had a lot of heat on her. And I was like, you know what? I'm not about to dogpile this girl, right? But y'all know how I am when it comes to patterns. And patterns do not lie, okay? Everyone has a pattern when it comes to their behavior. I don't care what it is. So one thing I'm noticing about Isis, the more that I, learn more about her situation, is that she continuously makes decisions selfishly. She continuously makes decisions with her kids being an afterthought, not a priority. And even now, with her doing this interview with an open case and open investigation, she's still moving selfishly. She's still doing things selfishly, and her kids are an afterthought, and she's not truly prioritizing them in a way that I feel that she should. So that means there's a continuation within her behavior. There's a continuation. She's in this cycle, and she's still not prioritizing her kids, which is what I have a big issue with, because it's about the kids. I don't give a damn about you, your life, what you was online promoting. Listen, people come on here and lie all the time, but you came out with this story about your kids, and it doesn't seem like, even now, after everything that you just went through, the way life can humble you, it doesn't even seem like she's learned anything. Because if she has, y'all, first of all, I would feel so guilty as a mother. I would feel so guilty, because I would feel like I would blame myself, because I would feel responsible that my choices landed me in this situation. But from here on out, I'm going to make better choices and decisions for my children. I'm going to prioritize them way more than I ever have to ensure that I am protecting them moving forward. So her sharing the story online was weird to me. Her putting her daughter's trauma out here for the internet to just take in is it's weird to me. But she has a pattern, and her pattern is she's selfish, she puts herself first, and her kids are an afterthought. And that's just the truth. She has a consistent pattern of doing this, and she's doing it right now. She's doing it right now.
I remember moving my stuff in the day before we were getting married, and I didn't sleep there. I went to the hotel that he booked for me and my sisters, a very nice suite. We had a beautiful wedding reception.
And I also want to add, because someone else is saying exposing your oldest child to living with so many different men is crazy. And it kind of feeds into what the niece was saying. You know, she had that oldest boy at 17, and she's been dating different men ever since then. So what did she expose him to? What did she expose him to? Why was the one man that was a good man and he was everything that you were looking for, why did he not want the oldest child living with you? Because it wasn't the youngest, it wasn't the 2-year-old at the time, it was the 5-year-old. And you've been dating these supposed thugs and all of this type of stuff. So it's just like, what has he seen? What has he experienced? Because it doesn't seem like she vets these men good at all. It doesn't. And I'm not saying vetting covers everything, but there should be a level of discernment, and it doesn't seem like she has a high level of discernment when it comes to her kids. So I don't know. But if she had her oldest son at 17, that means he's seen a lot. You know, he's been around a lot of different men, and maybe he's picked up some behaviors from them. We don't know. Okay, so we're going to continue to be neutral because, like I said, the plot is neither of these women who have spoken out about the situation denied that those girls were touched. And at this point, the plot is who touched them. Okay, who touched them?
I mean, he threw it together so quick. He was just like, here, just do what you want to do. And it was beautiful. It was beautiful.
Do you feel like if you had enough money in your bank account to comfortably pay rent and other things, would you have made that decision?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
Probably, yes.
Because I know sometimes, you know, when money's tight, that has a lot, finances just have a lot to do with our decisions.
But I was making good money. And that's why I said I only needed like a little bit of time to stay. Even if I was to stay with a family member, I mean, it just would have been a little bit because I was making good money working for my family. So I knew I would have been able to.
She's trying to make it seem like it's really about the love that she had and God told her this and that, but she was making good money, but he had more money. Let's be real. He had a lifestyle that you wanted. Let's be real. Okay, let's be real, because we saw a different Isis on your YouTube channel, because it was about the Porsche, it was about the bags and all of that. So no, he had more money, because the good money that you was making wasn't enough for you. It wasn't enough for you. So he had more money and you wanted more. That's what it was. You wanted the lifestyle that came with him. Let's be real. Okay, let's go to, and that could have kept her blinded too from seeing earlier signs or early red flags when it comes to him being a predator too. She was blinded and she saw his pockets, she saw his lifestyle, she saw the Porsche, which I heard the Porsche is a 2000 and I think they said a 2016 Porsche. Like, she's on her channel making it seem like it's a brand new Porsche that she just drove off the lot. I heard that this Porsche is from 2016, by the way. But let's continue.
Showing up at the doorstep and on.
Okay, so he asked her about earlier signs. Hold on. Earlier signs that she thinks that she may have missed.
Honestly, early on, not even a month, some girl his ex was showing up at the doorstep, and she was like, well, he was supposed to be with me because we got married so fast. So,
Wow.
you know, I guess she was maybe hanging around, or I don't know. And she looked very, very, very young.
Listen, I want y'all to look at something too that's really, really bothering me. Whenever she speaks about certain things and she's really trying to like convince the men, she does this thing with her eyes, and y'all know I don't play about the eyes, where she's like looking at them like trying to convince them with her eyes. Manipulative people do that shit. So is she telling the truth here? I honestly don't know. But she keeps doing this with her eyes, and it's like she's trying to persuade them with her body language and her facial expressions. And then she's reading them as well. Like she's reading them like, are you believing me? Are you believing me? Do I need to like paint a better story? Because then she would feed off of them as well. And you know what? I don't blame them. I don't blame the men in the situation, because I know that they most likely were feeling like they had to walk around on eggshells around her, because again, they don't want women coming for them. They don't. So a lot of people are talking about, oh, they were coddling her. They had to, because if not, it would have been two men gaining up on this victim, right? And they would have gotten dragged, canceled, et cetera, et cetera. So I felt like these men handled themselves very well considering the situation and how social media is. But me being me, oh, it's a 2011. It's a 2011 Porsche. I couldn't remember. I knew it was older. But one thing that she does, and she does this throughout the interview at certain points when her voice changes and things like that, she is like doing this with the eyes. It's just very weird. But look, keep looking. Just watch.
But she was of legal age. I think she was 21, a few years younger than me. But she looked like a child.
Wow.
And it's almost like, you see how they're sitting on either side of her. And so she feels the need, as she's telling the story, to look at both of them back and forth to convince them. And it's just like, if you're telling the truth, you don't have to do all of that. Like, you just tell the truth. So I felt like that was a little weird to me. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way. And it's just like, girl, just tell the full truth. Like, just tell people what actually happened.
So that was pretty much his type for the most part.
I told him, how can you be attracted to her? Because she doesn't have a body or anything. She looks so young. And he was just like, he wouldn't really say much. But I'm like, well, I guess she is an adult. It's not illegal. I guess it's not weird. But to me, it's odd. Age? Well, yeah, she told me how old she was. She just came. We talked for a little bit, and it was, yeah.
I mean, she shows up at the house.
He wasn't there. She was sitting on the step when I pulled up at home.
That was the first red flag.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. And then did it get progressively worse, or did it get better after that?
He was very controlling very early on. I remember actually the day we got married, I started seeing how insecure he was. He always thought I was looking at other men, like just imagining it, it seemed. Or maybe not even imagining it, maybe just trying to scare me into not ever thinking about doing it. I don't know.
And this is a man who has already expressed that he wants to grow a family. He wants to have children outside of the two young boys you already have.
Yes.
How would you describe your sexual relationship
with him?
Correct.
Vanilla, normal. Seemed like a normal guy. He wasn't.
So nothing.
No, he just, like, I never would think that this man would do this stuff. He hid it so well. Even, if I saw him watching adult videos, it was grown women that look like me. I'm like, okay, well, I guess you're thinking about me. That's okay. Nothing like that. Not at all. He already knows I don't play that because he knew,
And was there any level of aggression or anything that ever became?
I thought the vanilla comment was weird too, but I was like, I'm okay. All right. All right. All right. But again, like, you know, at points, because I want to point this out. When she said he hit it so well, it's true. Men do that. Predators do that. Predators, and I want to make this clear too. Predators do that. It's not just men, and that's another thing. It's like the focus when it comes to this whole thing is men, 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 men. But predators come in different genders. They can even be young children. And so again, like that is true. You know, so maybe she didn't see it. Maybe these were earlier signs that she overlooked, because again, when you're truly out here dealing with predators, they hide themselves really, 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 really well. They do. So let's make that known too, that a predator, and when it comes to these type of situations, especially SA and things like that, it could be other small children, it could be women, and it can also be men. It could be a family member, it could be somebody off the street, it could be a basketball coach, it could be a teacher. You don't know. And so you need to use your discernment when it comes to all people, instead of making it about men, 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 because if you do, you're going to overlook certain things. So these conversations are very educational. It gives you an eye-opening perspective on what to look out for. Like the whole kid thing, like, oh my God, the whole kid thing. I've been learning more about that. Other siblings touching other siblings, or just other small children touching other small children, picking up that behavior from someone that may have abused them, and now they're going around abusing other kids and things like that. There's just so much that you have to look out for. So keep an open mind when it comes to this conversation, and just make sure you're not just focused on men and that's it. Make sure you're focusing on just things that are, you know, off or weird or suspicious, because now I don't feel comfortable having kids play in a room with the door shut. Like, leave the door open. No kids are playing in a room with the door shut. Seriously.
Violent towards yourself? Like, did he ever have any of that energy towards you?
He never put his hands on me like that. No.
Okay.
He never put his hands on me. He was not physically abusive to me, but he was sexually abusive. I guess that is physically abusive.
Okay.
But when he first, what people have to understand is marital, I don't even know how to say it, marital R word is never talked about. And it's a real thing. And I think I read it didn't even become illegal.
Now, I know a lot of women want to hold her to the fire when it comes to this situation. Like, why would she stay in this situation when earlier on in the relationship, she's claiming that he R-worded her 4 times. But you have to understand that a lot of women stay even when there are obvious red flags, because again, I don't think her family really supported her decision to marry this man in such a short notice. I don't think people were really supporting her when she was making this decision. And so if she married him, didn't really know him like that, and she is now dealing with this situation in her marriage, she is going to be more reluctant to stay, right? Because she doesn't want to deal with the, well, we tried to tell you, the I told you so. So maybe she stayed and thought that things would get better. Maybe she was rationalizing her situation. You don't know the mindset of certain people when they're in these situations. Like, you just don't know. So I'm not saying that I agree with her decision, but I am empathizing with the fact that maybe she didn't think she had that many choices. And see, I'm in a healthy frame of mind. She may not have been in the healthiest frame of mind. She talks about how, I mean, clearly we know that she was desperate, whether it was for money, a man, whatever the case may be, she was desperate. So already she's going to make decisions out of desperation. And I feel like it is like, this part is kind of unfair to hold against her, because when you're in situations like this, you really don't know how you're going to handle it. And I feel like it's easier to say, oh, well, she should have just left. I'm like, listen, to a certain degree, I agree with you. But again, we're in a healthy frame of mind. She is not in a healthy frame of mind. So she's going to make decisions and choices to you that are not going to make any sense. But if you're in an unhealthy state mentally, you're not going to make the best choices and decisions either. And it's very clear she doesn't make good choices and decisions. So let's just keep that in mind. But I don't know. I don't know why she overlooked this. And I hope this is a learning lesson to women that are taking in her story, that when you overlook things and you have children involved, like a man putting his hands on you or a man being aggressive with you and you have children, you need to think about how that could possibly affect them down the line, even though it's just happening to you and he hasn't done anything to them. But one day he could, though, because when men show you that side, they're showing you that that is who they are, and you're ignoring it, and you're only thinking, oh well, he's only this way towards me. But he's showing you that it's in his character, though. He's showing you that it's in his character that he can get aggressive. So just because it's not directed towards your children doesn't mean at any point in time it will never be directed towards your children. It could be. So you got to be careful about that. If you don't learn anything from this situation, is just because it's not happening to your kids, it's not directed towards your kids, it doesn't mean that it will never be, though. So you have to think about that. Always consider your kids when it comes to these situations that you may be experiencing with the man that you're dating, the man that you're married to, et cetera, et cetera.
Legal until 1970 something.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to think he may have grown up. This is a normal part of life. You own your wife. And he would use scripture to manipulate me. You know, your body is not your own. It belongs to your husband. Wow. And, you know, that type of stuff too. And he would gaslight me. And I would be crying. Like, first it starts off, you think, oh, you know, he's just trying to have sex and I just don't want to. And it's like, you know, I'm telling him no. And, you know, you think he's playing at first. And it's like, no, I'm serious. And then it gets to the point where you're like, he's not stopping. And I'm like fighting him and crying like, no. And it happened 4 times. But I remember the last time something in me said, don't fight and don't cry. Just lay there. He couldn't even finish. He just got off of me and just said, we're getting a divorce. And I realized that he was just attracted to the sadistic part of it.
Hold on, wait. So you used to fight him and cry, and you felt like that was what turned him on? Because
it was for sure. Because the last time it happened, when I just laid there, like I just had to be very quiet. Like I just knew just to lay there like a dead fish, basically. And he just couldn't even finish.
Did you ever think to, you know, file a criminal report when that was happening, or did you just not want to do that because that was your husband?
It didn't even. It's hard. There was so much gaslighting. He'd finish and then be like, babe, why are you crying? I thought you wanted it. And hold you and rub you, and I love you so much. The next day, you and the kids everybody's getting new clothes, and you know, and you're thinking, my husband is a good guy, you know, he's not, you know, and I am his wife. I mean, my body does belong to him. And
again, y'all, I'm gonna remind you that this girl was not in the right frame of mind. She was not in a healthy mindset. So I feel like it's easy to judge her when it comes to this part, right? Because of all the other decisions that she made. But this, if it is true, no, like I can't say it's her fault. Like no, absolutely not. Because if it's true, listen, he took advantage of her, just point blank. And this type of stuff is harder to prove too. Like, let's keep in mind that when you're married and this type of stuff happens in your marriage, it's harder to prove. So I guess it's just gonna be we're just gonna have to go off of what she's saying.
It says in the Bible, so what am I complaining about? But the last time he never did it again because he knew that I knew that what it was about.
So, by the way, were you his first wife?
I didn't even realize how many times that man had been married before I married him. I'm his 4th wife.
Wow.
Nick at Night brought this to my attention. She said when she was clapping back at people, I think she put this on her community tab. She said she did a background check. So if you did a background check, you would have known that he was married 4 times. Listen, there's a YouTuber by the name of Sunday. I'm going to make sure to tag her. She's doing a full breakdown of all the other wives and all the other people that are associated with this situation. Okay. Her name is Sunday. She's doing a really, really, really good job of uncovering details that ISIS is not including in her story. Okay. But she said when she was clapping back, she was saying she was doing a background check. And I'm just like, if you really did a background check, you would know that he was married. But she's saying she found out because his mama slipped up and said it.
Ow.
Did you know that before marriage?
No, his mom slipped up and told me.
She knew she wasn't supposed to tell you that.
I don't know. He had told me he was married 2 other times, but he said that the women cheated on him and whatever.
Did you find that out to be true? Did you ever speak to his ex-wives?
I spoke to one ex-wife, but she was so reluctant to even talk to me. I don't even know what he put her through because she was just like, when you called me, it took me back to a bad place. And I was like, oh, she just didn't share much.
Now, amidst the abuse, you are still together. You're still growing a family.
Mm-hmm.
And now you are, if I'm not mistaken, 3 daughters in.
Well, I got pregnant with our first daughter 4 months into the
4
marriage.
months into the marriage,
We
okay.
had been trying to conceive from the time that we got engaged. The time he put the ring on my finger, it was, all right, you know.
And she's saying she has no regrets at all? Okay.
I mean, we knew we were getting married. So he was so excited. He was so excited.
You know, what I'm curious about is in this, it just seems, I mean, this is a lot. It's a lot. I can imagine. Were you happy in your marriage at all?
I was. A lot of, I mean, there was good and bad, but we had a good friendship. Like, and that, I think that was, you know, one of the main things. We loved to watch movies together and spend time together, and we loved to, you know, do things with the family, and I thought we had a good life together. And it's not like we were not intimate. Like, we were always intimate. We had a normal marriage for the most part, other than him being controlling, very, very controlling. But to me, it was easy to comply because he gave us the world.
All right. This is the last one before the therapist come on, because we need the therapist to come through. All right, here she talks about her platform, which I always find it interesting that when she's having these serious conversations about her story, she's talking and she's sitting with people, she's having these conversations regarding her story. It's always about her platform and how she plans to move towards creating different content. And it's just like, why are we even discussing that? Like, I don't get it. It's almost like she's about to transition into creating content that caters to women who have gone through a similar situation, and she's going to milk for views based off of the situation. Because the hypergamy thing, the sprinkle thing, it's not going to work for her because she's going through this divorce, et cetera, et cetera. I guess.
It's just sad.
Man.
I think what makes, you know, your story even more polarizing as it already is, with you know, recalling these events, is the content that you were putting out online, the self, you know, proclamation of being a trophy wife. And I think that's what has a lot of people, you know, stirred up.
That's exactly what she's about to do. She's about to grift into trauma bonding content.
All over the world at this point, because millions of people have seen the video.
Well, when I created my platform, I wanted to redefine the term trophy wife into a woman that is the Proverbs 31 woman, which is my favorite verse in the Bible. And I believe that.
Oh, brother. Let me see if I can pull it up, girl. I got a file on my desktop. Just give me a sec, because this is the video that she did. It was titled, "So You Want to Be a Trophy Wife?"
Everyone, welcome to our first YouTube video for the new trophy wife. I'm so excited that you guys are here. I'm so humbled that you would click on this video and see little me. So what I thought would be a good idea for our first video is just to talk about what is the new trophy wife? What does that mean to me, and how we're taking back that term trophy wife? It's ours now. To me, a trophy wife is not only a beautiful woman that's married to a successful man. She's intelligent, she's ambitious, she has goals and dreams of her own. She wants to move the family forward in her own right. She's a wonderful mother. She's a wonderful daughter. She's a wonderful friend. She's many, many things. So that is what we're going to be talking about on this channel. What a new trophy wife is and how I can help you to become one. I have struggled in my life of just getting it right, and I feel like there's so many things that my mother didn't teach me and that a lot of women's mothers didn't teach them. And guess what? I'm here to teach you so you don't have to learn the lessons the way I did, the hard way. Nobody wants to learn the hard way. I know I don't. I want to work smarter, not harder, honey. So that's what we're going to be doing. And if you are looking to become a new woman, to become the best version of yourself, to get the ring, the life, and the love you deserve, then guess what? Press subscribe, honey, because I'm the one that's going to teach you. So if you like what I have to say, then please press subscribe. Comment below any topics that you want me to talk about in the future. I don't know what we're going to be talking about in the next video, so if you guys have any ideas, then go ahead and let me know. I would love to hear it, and I'm just so excited. Please give us a thumbs up so that we can rank in the algorithm. Help me, help you, help me, help you, honey. Okay, so yes, go ahead and like this video, comment, share.
We have a swindler on our hands, because what was that? I guess, yeah, Cold Diva, I agree with you. Yeah, her beauty was, I guess, a distraction for them. I don't know. Okay, let's get back. This is crazy.
That every woman should aspire to be. It's not just about how pretty you are. It's about, are you, being a good mom? What are your values? Are you choosing a man of values? And I thought that I was talking about the right thing. And, I don't think it's bad for a woman to want a successful man. I'm never going to say that a woman should just not care at all, how a man shows up, because the success is honestly a manifestation of different attributes within the man. It's just a manifestation of being a hard worker.
Carmel, don't leave. Don't. She's like, yo, I gotta go. Peace. All right. So let's get into the therapist. Oh, wait. Is she done talking about her? Let's see. Wait, let's see. Let's see if she talks about her platform.
Persistent, faithful, all the things that success is a fruit of. So I still stand by that. But when it comes to dating as a single mom, luckily he didn't prey on his stepchildren. But what if he did?
What I want to do here, it's a blessing to say this, but Dr. Spirit actually did show up here backstage today. Yeah. So one of the greatest, most world-renowned therapists.
Yo, you watch her energy switch up when the therapist come on. Hold on.
Is actually backstage to join us in this conversation.
3,300 people in the chat. The chat is going bananas right now. Dr. Spirit, thank you for joining us. Where's she at?
Absolutely,
Hey.
Ken Blano.
Hey,
Dr.
guys.
Spirit, what's
Hey.
up with you, Dr. Spirit? Everybody, welcome.
Hey.
Drop a Dr. Spirit in the chat real quick.
I like that. Dr. Spirit got that set too. That's looking nice back there.
Yes.
I'm so sorry, guys. I'm working late at the office, so I couldn't come into the studio, but they told me that you needed me, so I'm here.
Absolutely.
Oh, listen, Dr. Spirit, I already know you one of the busiest therapists in the world. All right. So I am absolutely blessed.
It's a long day.
I know every day is probably a long day, but we have Isis Morales here, who has, one of the most viral stories and testimonies right now on the internet who came in here to join us.
Okay.
I know you like to come in absolutely blank because Dr. Spirit said, prior, I don't want to know anything. I want to come in with a blank slate. I just want to come in and meet the young lady and talk to her. And the purpose, by the way, because I want you to be able to do what you do with ISIS, because this situation is not unique, unfortunately.
Okay.
So I would like you to give her the best counsel that you could. And also just in general, any other ladies that might be in a situation, how they can move forward and advance, who might have experienced something similar. But in general, Dr. Spirit, I would like you to go ahead and take it from here.
Well, one of the things that I really want to ask, and I feel bad that I'm just jumping in because I'm sure you probably already shared this story with the audience, but what is it that you need from me tonight? How can I help you? I'm not familiar with your story. I'm not familiar with the viral moment. I'm not familiar with anything. And I'm meeting you for the first time where you are. And so as you think about where you are and what it is that you're going through in your life right now, how can somebody who does the work that I do, how can I serve you tonight?
I think that, I don't think, my therapist has definitely told me that I have post-traumatic stress disorder from these.
I also thought that was an interesting choice in words. Is Isis really in therapy? Because she said, I think. Did you just do a simple chat GPT search? Did you quickly just do a little Google search? So that's where you got that from. Did you self-diagnose yourself when it comes to the situation? I wonder.
Events. And I've kind of taken on a shape or this feeling of I just never think that I can trust a man again because of, if my own children's father, their biological father, the man that, made them, would do this, then who can I trust? And I told a woman this the other day, and she said, that spirit that's been following you and your family, that generational curse, that spirit that's in charge of that generational curse, it doesn't want you to be married. And it hit home so much to me. And how do I heal? How do I heal?
Well, tell me, how have you decided
Oh
that
my-
because I was in a relationship?
Y'all, I saw a tear fall. Oh my gosh. That was the first tear I've actually seen fall. Y'all, did y'all see the tear? No, this whole time I haven't seen a tear, but I just saw it. No, we got it. Nope. We got to give, I'm just being honest, y'all. Come on, let's be fair.
That's been following you and your family, that generational curse, that spirit that's in charge of that generational curse, it doesn't want you to be married. And it hit home so much to me. And how do I heal? How do I heal?
Well, tell me, how have you decided that because I was in a relationship with one man who did unthinkable, unspeakable things to me, how have you decided that he is a representation of all men? And that
Okay, we're gonna skip past that. Y'all, I was looking for a tear to fall this whole time. I'm like, oh my God, finally we see one. Okay. All right, she's talking about how I think she asks the doctor like how she can use her platform. Let's see.
It's Lewis Herman, I believe is her name. How to keep kids safe. I forget the author, but I'm trying to figure out how I can use my platform to help women never have to go through something like this. And I recommend that, honestly, women need to have surveillance in general on their children. And
Y'all, this is where she lost me again. I'm like, girl, how you can use your platform to teach women? Did she say that? Hold on.
get the author, but I'm trying to figure out how I can use my platform to help women never have to go through something like this. And I recommend that, honestly, women need to have surveillance in general on their children. And like I said, I don't know if that's just my PTSD speaking, but we just have to be very watchful because there are predators and they always look like the good guy most of the time.
Well, and when we talk about predators, what I want people to understand is that predators are not just men. Unfortunately, women can
Yes.
commit these kinds of acts as well.
I'm sorry,
When
I
we
don't mean
talk
to
about-
exclude that.
No. So right now, what I want to do is just kind of educate the audience. You are going through some excellent therapy, so you are finding the healing that you need. And what is important is that we learn as a community how to become stewards and protectors of our children. The reality is that 1 in 4 girls and an estimated 1 in 7 boys will deal with sexual molestation before the age of 18. So the numbers are staggering. The number of people who are in this chat tonight who have experienced some form of sexual abuse before they were 18 years old is staggering. And that means so many people have not been treated for the post-traumatic stress disorder, for the depression, for the anxiety, and all of the other issues that come as a result of child sexual abuse.
Yes.
And when we talk about this, we also have to recognize, as you are hearing this story tonight.
I just want to say, like, y'all, I always feel like it's a red flag when people want to heal in front of an audience. Healing is not what y'all think it is. And I have to say, y'all, it's not what it's ugly. And it's very emotional. And it can also be very dark at times. Like, I just don't like social media, y'all. Like, I don't like how social media always tries to glamorize something that is so real for so many people. And it's like, it's just bullshit to me. Like, girl, real healing sometimes takes isolation. Sometimes and yes, isolation, because you can't be there for others when you really need to be there for yourself, and when you're healing, you have to pour all of everything into yourself to truly heal. You can't be helping people as you heal. You can help people after. But during, no, you need to pour a lot into yourself, and you're wounded. You're just not in a position to really be helping anybody. So I don't know. It gives grief for that reason alone, because it's like, if you really are doing the work and you're really healing, you can't help other people. You're in no condition. You're in no place to really do so. And the reason why it takes isolation, because you have to go through realizations. There's a lot of reflecting. There's a lot of introspection. There's a lot of clarity. You may need to go to therapy so you can get that clarity, so you can make those connections, so you can create that understanding. But you can't do that while trying to help all of these people outside of yourself. That's why this was the biggest red flag for me. I'm like, okay, all right.
That it's not about Chester, the child molester. It's not about the strange van or the stranger in the neighborhood. 90% of victims know their abusers, and they are family members, they are friends, they are individuals who are stewards of children. And until we become very educated about what it means for predators to seek out and get access to their prey, and what makes people have the potential to be victims, we will not know how to adequately protect our children nor ourselves. And that is the takeaway that I really want everybody to understand tonight.
Thank you.
There you have it. Dr. Spirit, I appreciate you for coming up here in such absolute short notice.
Yes.
And, just talking, to our sister here, because, I mean, this is a touchy situation. I wanted, obviously, we asking questions, and we're getting her story, her testimony, but I wanted somebody to be able to give her some insight. Especially, I mean, it's babies involved, in this situation, families involved. In fact, the world is involved, at this point.
Well, and I want to know if you all have questions. One of the populations that I have worked with over the years have been convicted sex offenders. And so I have had an inside understanding in the minds of individuals who have behaved in such ways. And I'm curious whether it is the this young lady that you guys are speaking with tonight, or if it's members in your chat who may have had questions about how do they protect themselves, how do they protect their communities, what is it that people need to know in order for us to not only heal each other, but in order to make sure that there are no more victims among those that we love.
Yes. Please share with us any knowledge that you have is helpful, not only to myself, but to everyone.
And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to drop the link in the chat.
You can't. I got your name.
Okay, so we're going to get into the first man. His name is Darwin. He asked this question, which I felt like, because listen, I'm learning that there is a difference between Christians and people who actually follow Christ. I'm sorry, I had to say it. There are Christians and then there are people who follow Christ. And I'm here to say it. Y'all know I'm not even religious, but it's just something that I'm actually noticing lately when it comes to, people who call themselves Christians and then people who are actually following Christ. So Darwin calls her out on that. And I felt like it was a good question. He really, in my opinion, he got her a little uncomfortable because he was being real as hell. And I was like, finally, because anytime I see someone that is embodying, I know the audience feedback. I know, right? Yeah, I know, right? I know. But they were really tiptoeing around her. So I was really hoping like the people who call in, they were going to ask her those hard questions. But yeah, lately I've just been calling out, the Christians, but I'm like, are you really being led by Christ? Because your choices and your decisions just don't make sense to me, y'all. They don't. But okay. So he called her on the carpet. I believe he's a Christian man, and he was just asking her a question. Okay, let's see.
You can't. I got your name. Can you give me your age and your location?
Age is 38, Atlanta, Georgia.
Atlanta, Georgia. What's
ATL.
up with ATL here? So what's your question for us tonight, Darwin?
My question is, I noticed the woman said she saw the signs. So if you see the signs before your kids come into a picture, how much is this self-inflicted? Because me looking from that.
I said I didn't see the signs until after we were married already, so we were already invested as a family at that point.
What I'm hearing is that your kids, you had kids after you got married, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
So you said in the beginning of the marriage, I think in another video or maybe even a day, you said in the beginning of your marriage, he was pretty much sexually violating. So what I'm seeing is that you knew that this man was offensive or abusive, but then you went on ahead and had kids with him. So that means that for me, you put your kids in danger.
I think that that's the narrative that you want to put on the situation, but that's not the reality of what it was.
The narrative? Girl, that's how we comprehending the story. This is our comprehension skills. This is how we're critically looking at the situation. Is technically you did. I don't think that's a narrative that he's just creating. I think that's what happened. I don't think that he's trying to create a narrative at all. I don't think this is a reach at all. Just based off of how you told the story, you overlooked a lot of things that it didn't seem like you prioritized your children at all. You were just thinking about yourself, and that's it. And if you were a single woman, these decisions wouldn't have been as big of a deal because there's no kids to worry about. There's no children to worry about. But it just seems like your kids were an afterthought. Like they weren't truly a priority, especially when it comes to their safety. So, okay.
And like I said, I was very heavily manipulated by scripture. He, would use it. He would gaslight me. And I, after I hadn't even I don't even know if I was pregnant yet after the last time it happened. So, in every other way, he was a good man. I didn't think that it was worth throwing my family away or the family that we were trying to create because he had done those things. And unfortunately, I didn't realize that would mean that he would go on to abuse his own children. I don't know how someone would correlate the two. But that's just my opinion.
But now, Darwin, I want you to hold tight, because I think that was a valid concern.
He didn't validate the abuse that the husband allegedly inflicted on the kids. He was strictly talking about the choices that she made that led up to the situation. And see, this is why a lot of people are calling her out, like, oh, she's not taking any accountability. And at the parts in which she played a role in, she doesn't want to hold herself accountable for that. So she's gaslighting him and trying to put it off like, I had no idea that it was going to lead to my girls being abused. And it's like, that's not what he said. I don't like it when people do that. That is just so disingenuous when you have to gaslight somebody, you know that's not what they were getting at. They were before the abuse even took place. He is strictly focusing on the decisions and choices that you made, and if you could have made different choices or better choices, et cetera, et cetera. He was not coming at her like that.
And I think a lot of men feel that way. I mean, you could read through the comments of the video that went viral. A lot of men have this perception of what they think victimhood should look like. So, Dr. Spirit, I want to get your help here, because for the people who are posing this type of question, hey, if you've already experienced this abuse, or you've already experienced some of these negative things, how could you continue to move forward in a relationship? Dr. Spirit, could you give us some context on why someone who has been victimized may continue to continue with the relationship?
Because oftentimes a victim believes that it's something that is unique to them. They don't believe that the person that they love would consider doing more heinous things. Oftentimes they think that that's something that's specific to their relationship. So again, I don't know the story here. I don't know the backstory. But when we're talking about a victim of abuse, they don't necessarily think if I have children with someone, they will abuse someone too. And I want you to remember this, because it's very easy to sit back and judge somebody.
This is facts, but I don't believe it applies to the question he originally asked. I think it applies to what ISIS turned it into. I felt like he asked a good question. I think he asked a question that a lot of us wanted to know. But let's continue, because the doctor is correct. I like what she's saying, because it is facts. This happens a lot, and most victims think that it's unique to themselves and themselves only, but it could just be a character. It is a character flaw that they could easily treat other people that same way.
When you have a healthy mind in a space that is absent of trauma, when you are caught in a cycle, the way that you see things, the way that you feel about things, the way that your brain operates is very different. So that may be also why you're hearing how she was perceiving relationships before she had therapeutic support, and how.
Listen, I know people don't like this man. It ain't about it liking him, y'all. We just stay and focus on what was asked, how she responded, and what the doctor is saying. All right. This is not about a popularity contest. It's not about if you like this man, if you like men at all. This is about what he asked, how she responded, and how the doctor is also responding. Okay. Let's stay focused on what is actually taking place here, not who this man is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Because honestly, I don't care.
How she's perceiving those things now.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just want you guys to be very careful. It is very hard to understand what victims go through if you have never been a victim yourself. But one of the things that most victims will tell you on the other side of healing is that nobody is judging or critiquing them more, and nobody is suffering more than the victims who are going through the experience.
Well,
So asking questions are important, but asking them from a place of objectivity is even more important.
Well, the reason
And Darwin, we're gonna let you close out here so we can get to the other callers. But go ahead, brother.
The reason why I frame my question like that is because she believes in what I believe in. I believe in God. So she gave me a way to hold her accountable when she start saying God this and God that. And if you read the word, you would know that sexual immorality or physical abuse or anything like that is pretty much grounds for divorce. And that supersedes any type of gaslighting or emotional manipulation. If she's so grounded in the word and scripture, that actually supersedes any of the other offenses this man put towards her. And that's the reason why I framed my question like that. Because if we're going to call ourselves spiritually driven and backed by biblical principles, started as my son in background. We have to be unwavering. We have to be unwavering. And that's the only reason why I frame my question like that. But my sorrows goes out to you. I hope that you can heal from this. And I appreciate you, Dr. Spirit, for talking to the lady.
I appreciate you as well. And please understand, for everybody that may be in the chat tonight, I want you to understand that it's not about defending anybody. It's not about debating anybody. The only thing that I want to do is offer as much clarity as possible, because I want us all to be our best selves. And
it's because she agreed with what he said. That's why she responded. And now she's responding to what he said, the therapist, because earlier the therapist was responding to ISIS. Now she's responding directly to Darwin, and she's going to agree with what he said.
I wish that more pastors had Darwin's perspective. I wish that more church members had that perspective that says be unwavering in support of victims, because most folks who are working with church folks who are being wounded by their partners, who are being wounded by their spouses, who are being wounded by family members, if we were unwavering in abuse and we protected and stood up for one another, we wouldn't have victims stand in situations trying to take it to prayer closets, praying it away, acting like it doesn't matter, being ashamed, and keeping that trauma a secret. So here for healthy, however we have to find it.
Absolutely. And thanks so much, Darwin, for joining.
I appreciate you, brother. Thank you so much.
Any like small signs?
So we're going to get into the next lady that asked the question. She wanted to know, were there any small signs
that now seem like they were a bigger thing? Like, is there anything that you can think back on possibly that maybe now you're like, oh my gosh, that might have been a signal that this person was an evil monster?
The signs were very, very small and covert, to be honest. When I think back, little things, sometimes my daughter, it appeared that.
And I want to also point out, this part is true to me. Like, this part and what she's saying to me is true. This happens a lot. Like, the signs are not as obvious as some people may believe them to be. The signs can be very, very, like, just very small, like just, or normal, like things you really wouldn't question. So I believe this part as well, that, there's some truth to what she's saying here, y'all.
That her and my husband, or both of my daughters and my husband, had a very good relationship. But sometimes she would come when we were sitting together and she would say, "Mommy, I love you the most." And she would only say it when he was around. So sometimes little signs like that, it's not always a red flag at the time, but now in hindsight, I'm like, was she just trying to tell me that she didn't feel safe around him?
Wow. Now, Dr. Spirit, I do want you to chime in on this, because Isis did mention about, her spouse also being controlling as well. Mm-hmm. So what are some things that the ladies and also, guys should look for when it comes to identifying if a partner may, eventually become controlling or manipulative?
Well, there's a difference between controlling and manipulative and sexual abuse. So I want us to be very clear on that.
Gotcha.
And so when we're talking about how do we protect children from sexual abuse, one of the things that we have to let them know is that we are unwavering in our protection of them.
She sees it as a sign. If her story is true and her husband did touch those girls, it could possibly be a sign. But I can also agree with you, Brownie, that primary caregivers are always favored. That is very true. So I don't know. Again, the plot when it comes to this situation is who touched the girls. That's the plot. So if he touched the girls, then I can see where Isis is coming from. And then if he didn't touch the girls, Brownie, I can see where you're coming from. So yeah.
And as much as we love our spouses, their mommies, or their daddies, we don't love anybody and won't protect anybody more than we will protect them.
Amen.
And if they ever have something to tell us, we will believe them.
Amen.
So it's important for us to have those kinds of conversations with our children. It's important for us to use the right language about their body parts and about privacy. And especially to your point, Ryan, when you're talking about control, You want to make sure that children know that nobody has control over their bodies.
Okay, I agree with that, but we're gonna move on. Oh, this is when the doc starts to clock the T. Because a lot of people are like, oh, da, da. This woman was being, oh, wait. Oh, wait. I'm too far ahead. Not yet. Let's get into the third lady's question. Hold on. Because it's important before we can get into the doctor clocking the T. Because a lot of people is giving the doctor a hard time. And I'm like, well, she's just coming into the situation. She doesn't know the situation in full. And she's reading the situation as the conversation is being had. And she's observing Isis, her body language, just things that she's saying. She's observing her. That's what your therapist will do. And so she started to clock the T towards the end, but she was still professional about it, y'all. This is a professional. This is not a content creator. It's not a blogger. Like, this is an actual therapist. So she started clocking her here in a sec, but let's get into the third lady's question first.
I come from a line of fierce protective women, unfortunately, that have had to be victims as well. But my mother believed me. Her mother believed her. There's no other.
And also, this is now I'm going to point out the lies, baby. Because y'all know I've been pointing out the lies this whole live. So keep in mind at 1 hour and 27 minutes, because towards the end of this live, she said her mother didn't believe her. Because I had to clock this. Okay, because I was like, wait a minute. And I've been meaning to clock this because when I was writing down my timestamps, I was like, wait a minute. Didn't she say earlier in this live that her mother her mother did defend her and believe her? So let's clock it again. Hold on. Let's get the end of this right here.
Think you did something and you acted, and I just think that that's a testament to you as a person. So that's all I wanted to say.
Well, I appreciate your thank you, but honestly, to me, what other decision would a good mother make? I come from a line of fierce protective women, unfortunately, that have had to be victims as well. But my mother believed me. Her mother believed her. There's no other way to do it. In my opinion, shame on any mother that would discount such a serious allegation. Shame.
Ayana, thank you so much for coming up here, sweetheart. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and bring the next call. I'm gonna bring a couple more callers up here. As we got Dr. Spear here live with us. Isis Morales here is also joining us. The next caller we have here, it looks like we have.
Hi, I'm doing good. How are you all?
I'm blessed. Give me your age and your location.
So I'm 23 and right now I'm in Michigan.
23 years old. Wow. There you go.
Young initiate.
Got the young bull on. What's your question?
So my question, I guess, would be with the platform of Me Too and the significance of really platforming your experience of like grave trauma, especially in the midst of healing with what you seem to experience, which is PTSD. And then also just coming to terms with the fact that you're probably also simultaneously dealing with a case. My question would be, what are the psychological implications of platforming your experience? How do you navigate the backlash that comes with sharing your experience? Because like even reading the chat, like it's been like typed before it even like got live. So my thing is like, how do you steward that type of platform in a way that's going to bring you peace ultimately?
My peace comes from God because he's the one that's leading my steps, and that's been my prayer every day. God, lead my steps. And I felt like God wouldn't let me move forward in life until I spoke my truth, because it's just been swept under the rug for so long, generationally. And this isn't something that's just affecting my own family. This is affecting more families than we know. And it was important to.
Now, listen, I agree with her posting that video. I'm like, okay, I'll give you that. I'll give you that and say, you spoke out to expose the abuser. You spoke out to expose the predator. All right, I'll give you that, right? But you're still talking and the case is still open. And I've talked to 2 social workers and they're saying that this could literally kill her case. I've also spoken to 2 attorneys. They said that this could literally kill her case. But then keep in mind that this is not a criminal case. This is a civil case. And that is a huge deal when it comes to this situation. The same thing with Jay-Z when he filed a case against Tony Busby. That was a civil case, but he's claiming extortion. Okay, so why isn't that criminal then? Why are you filing a civil case? So it's just a lot of manipulation is going on in the public eye right now, and I need people to start educating themselves on how these things work and how the proceedings are, because then you won't be easily manipulated when it comes to people using these terms and saying these things. And it's like they are leaving out a very important detail that can make you look at the situation totally different. Okay, so let's get into it, because I've talked to so many people and it's like, yeah. And then I did my research after the live last night. I did my research. I went back out there to Baltimore, Maryland's website, and I'm like, let me see, has there been any changes? She appealed the protective order. And so when she appealed the protective order, she was able to reopen the case, but it's still a civil case that's under appeal. It's not a criminal case that's under appeal. So she's saying that there's an investigation happening behind the scenes, but I'm just like, if there really was, she would have never been advised to do this interview. No way in hell, y'all. She would have been advised to conduct this interview. So I don't know. This is why a lot of people are kind of hesitant to believe her story, because the decisions and the things that she's doing, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up. And she's not really protecting her kids, because if she were protecting her kids, she would have never spoken out after she posted that first video. Because like I said, I'll give you the first video. Okay, you felt like you were doing the right thing. You were being led by God. Okay, I'll take that. But this interview is ruining your case, and you're not protecting your kids, because if you were, you wouldn't be speaking out right now. You have no need to speak out right now. But if you want that bag, you do. And another thing, social media, people who consume social media, please listen to me when I say this. Social media is faster than real life. In the virtual world, everything is instant gratification. Offline, it's not like that. Things have to be processed. Paperwork has to be put on a desk, and it has to be looked at, and then it has to be processed. It has to be evaluated by certain people, and it can take time. Okay. So like people will come online and be like, oh, this happened. I'm like, no way it happened that fast. No way, unless you're manipulating the public and you're lying about it. No way all of this stuff is just happening so fast. So this is why I don't know what to believe right now, because she could be telling the truth. Like maybe there is an investigation going on in the background that we can't see online. That's true. But listen, the time is ticking. The time is ticking. If she's lying versus if she's telling the truth, in due time, we will see what the truth is. But I'm just here to point out that some of the stuff that she's saying does not make sense. And you will catch her in a few lies as you watch this interview. So it's clear, though, she's not protecting her kids, because if she were, she would have never done this interview, y'all. She would have never done this interview. But let's continue.
To share, especially in the wake of the Menendez brothers case and just all that's going on in the world with, you know, all these predators being exposed. And Cat Williams was very prophetic when he said that this is the year. Time is up. This is the year. And I knew I had to say something.
So I want to,
great question, Brianna.
Yeah, great question, Brianna. Really, really great question, because this is a unique situation, Dr. Spirit. You know, this ISIS has put out a testimony video that got 2.5 million views, somewhere around at this point. So I mean, she's being inundated, I can imagine, with probably emails, comments, DMs,
phone calls, everything.
Phone calls,
people,
family,
just,
people from elementary school.
Oh
anybody.
my gosh, it's just been crazy.
And I can imagine it's all types of emotions, right? You got the people who are, reaching out with love and support, and you got the other people who are pissed off, who are probably.
And I also, for those that are saying like, oh, she's doing this for money because she needs to pay for her lawyers, et cetera, he's financially abusing her. Listen. The protective order that is good for a year up until next year, I believe, of September of 2025, it's mandated through the courts that he has to pay for her maintenance. Her maintenance is the mortgage, insurance, anything that he was paying for when it comes to her lifestyle and her children's lifestyle. He is required to keep paying those bills. So the donations that like the GoFundMe account, I don't really know what that's for. I don't know what that's for, because he is required to keep up her lifestyle. And that's what the protective order was truly about. It was to protect the kids, but then also it would force him to continue to pay car notes, car insurance, mortgages, even daycare. If there's daycare, anything, medical expense, anything that pertains to keeping up with the lifestyle, he is still required to pay under that protective order. Okay. And I don't see nobody talking about that. So what is she asking money for? Y'all, I don't know, unless the niece did say that she believes that it's because her lawyer dropped her and she was looking for a new lawyer and she needed money. And she's upset about how GoFundMe hasn't released the funds, which may be the reason she's speaking out now, because GoFundMe didn't release the funds. So if GoFundMe didn't release the funds, I deleted all of my YouTube videos because people were clocking the lies, right? Then I have to do this interview. I have to. Even though it logically won't make sense to an attorney, I'm even sure a prosecutor was like, no, you should not speak out on social media at all. A prosecutor would never advise you to do this. An attorney would never advise you to do this. A social worker would never advise you to do this, because it could literally kill your case. And if it's about these kids, right? Because that's the plot here. It's about the children, right? Then she's not protecting them with this interview, y'all. She's not protecting them, and she's not really thinking about how they deserve justice. And it's going to be harder for them to get it if she were to speak out. But if you're in need of funds, you're willing to take that chance, right? So let's continue.
You know, calling you a liar, telling you that all these different things are happening.
Where's the accountability? So everything.
Yeah.
100%. So, I mean, that's a unique situation, you know, Dr. Spirit, to kind of be dealing with that whirlwind, you know, of other people being involved in your business at this point. And you're a content creator. So the thing about it is that is your job, because you put them in your business as a coach because you were really helping these ladies. So you almost had a responsibility to tell them these other things and involve them in your advancement. But this is a different level of trauma, and, you know, just energy even coming your way.
Yeah.
And y'all, this is for her to be going viral in the way that she did. The scrutiny that she is facing is a lot. It's a lot. When you face scrutiny online, it's a lot emotionally. It's a lot mentally. It takes a lot on you. So this is for someone to have gone through such a traumatic experience, for her kids to go through such a traumatic experience. It's just not wise for her to be putting her business out here in the public eye. Like, it's not like that level of scrutiny, y'all. It's a lot on your mental health. It is very extreme. And this is why I was kind of shocked to even see that she did this interview, because I'm like, wouldn't you want to kind of lay low just a little bit until things are kind of worked out through the courts, and then maybe you speak out later? But she didn't do that. So this is just going to fuel more scrutiny to come her way, honestly. But she seems willing to deal with that as long as she's able to get that check.
At this point, Dr. Spirit, I mean, what do you say to somebody going through something like that in that type of space?
Well, you know, as I'm listening to you guys, I'm learning more and more. And for me, it's concerning, because it's very hard to help people when you are experiencing so much trauma. And so as you are out here telling your story in a way that you are still unpacking it, in a way that you're still trying to process it in therapy, in a way that you're still trying to make sense of it and heal it. I don't know what type of coaching that you do, and I don't know how you are able to navigate actual healing while experiencing trauma on trauma. I mean, that tells me a little bit maybe more about your presentation, because I can hear it. It sounds like you're choking back tears constantly, but then your face and your affect doesn't show me. And maybe it's, I don't have my glasses on, so, you know, I can't.
I'm trying to keep it together.
Yes.
She clocked the hell out of her, because first I was like, damn, is she working her over? But no, Dr. Spirit was like, let me observe. Let me just sit back and watch. So to the people that was in the chat talking about, oh, y'all just don't want to believe her, even the doctor was like, her body language, the tears and everything, it's just not matching up. It should be matching up. Now, listen, why should we believe the doctor over how our own opinions? She's a doctor. She literally said in the beginning of this live that she has dealt with convicted sex offenders, right? Okay, so she's seen a lot. She's seen a lot in her field of work, right? So I'm gonna take what the doctor is saying before anybody. So if you try to come for me, even the doctor is saying, well, this is it's just, I don't know, something's not right. Something's not right. So let's continue though, because she clocked her heavy.
So there's like so many different things that are happening that I would just say at the end of the day, you don't owe anybody anything except for you and your children.
Correct.
So while I think that it's wonderful that you are wanting to platform the story and give the story voice, I want you to recognize that there are millions of advocates around the world who are already doing the work around sexual violence. I want you to know that there are many folks who are telling the stories and serving to protect individuals and to sound the alarm about sexual abuse, about spousal rape, about sexual assault. And you don't have to use your platform and you don't have to use your trauma in order to be able to stand in the gap for individuals if you know you still need to do your own work. And I want you to be very, very careful because you will traumatize yourself in new ways, exposing yourself at a point in time when you are absolutely wrong, when you don't have the answers, where you don't have the understanding, where you can't even make sense of it. So to put yourself out here, I don't know if it's a form of therapy for you. I don't know if you're just part of the generation where everybody says, look at my trauma and everybody, we can just
It's
go
not
through
that.
it together and that
It's-
helps me heal.
It's not that.
I'm not sure what it is.
It's not
But what
that
I
at
would
all.
say is, think about your wellness first.
Mhm.
Think about your care first. And remember, you have plenty of time to be able to share your story and your
Plenty of
healing
time.
and be effective with the world. But you have to take care of you first.
And what I want to say is I haven't uploaded any content since that video, and I have been taking care of myself and my children. That has been my main priority. But what I want people to really take from this and why I really did this is to be concerned about the time in between. And when I say the time in between the abuse happens and someone says something about it and tells the world or tells the family members, how many other children could be at stake?
No, let's hear her out because it's true. It's true, right? It's true. If the story is true, I can stand with her and say she did the right thing by exposing the predator. All right. But listen to what the doctor says.
In the time in between, even the 6 weeks in between, that I decided to share that story from the time that the abuse occurred. God would not let me move forward until I shared that story because there's a good chance this man could be around kids. I mean, people were pulling his dating profiles. He was looking for the next whoever. It's the time in between.
Let's clock the fact that she been sitting up here watching Sunday on YouTube. She been sitting up here watching content creators on YouTube. Because how else did you find out about that? You said you didn't know that the man was married prior. Then you was throwing shots because you've been watching Shara, her response. You've been watching all these content creators' responses. All of them. Probably me too. Everybody. So how did you know people were pulling up the ads if you weren't watching? Because you were. You wanted to see what people were saying. Listen, if I don't have good discernment, I shouldn't even be talking to y'all. I don't need to be doing this. I need to be doing something else. Hold on. Let's clock that again.
Could be at stake in the time in between, even the 6 weeks in between, that I decided to share that story from the time that the abuse occurred. God would not let me move forward until I shared that story because there's a good chance this man could be around kids. I mean, people were pulling his dating profiles. He was looking for the next whoever. It's the time in between that the children.
So she was watching several people that were covering the situation and seeing what narratives that they had created. And it's very clear that she most likely studied because a lot of in this interview, we really didn't learn anything new. A lot of the things she stated in this interview, if I'm being just honest. Sunday, I'm gonna keep mentioning her name. I keep posting her videos on my community tab, but everything that she addressed Sunday already exposed. So we're just now finding this out through her. But Sunday was already exposing that information on her YouTube channel. She was exposing a lot of stuff that the internet did not know. So, and really, the only one that was truly pulling up her husband's ad to on the dating profile that he had out there was Sunday. I don't know. It could have been some other content creators, but that's who I saw pull it up. Okay. That's who I saw. And she's been covering Isis's story pretty heavily on her YouTube channel. And she was dropping information that I'm just like, girl, how are you finding out all of this? So I have a conspiracy theory that whoever Sunday is talking to is someone that may be close to the situation, or is people that are very close to the situation. Because even in Sunday's live, she was talking about how this girl was out and about. She got out of her BMW. She was going and getting lunch, and she was just living her best life. It didn't seem like she was going through anything or anything like that. But again, that is based off of what can be shown on the outside. It doesn't mean that she's not dealing with anything on the inside, but that's what the word around town is wherever she lives, because people are now, they wanted an update. She didn't say anything. She hadn't update people on her YouTube channel. So of course people start getting nosy. People start asking questions. People start, looking around and seeing, oh, is that such and such from YouTube? Like, is that the girl that made that video? And so people were reporting back and giving Sunday details about kind of like what she's been up to since she wasn't on social media. So you know how people get out here, especially behind stories like this.
Children are being hurt when people don't want to say anything. So I feel like I've had no other choice but to share this testimony, because it's not about me. God is just using me. It's not about me. It's never been about me. It's about everybody. It's about the fact that this is happening at an alarming rate. No one's talking about, I can't say no one's talking about it, but it's just not being pushed the way that it needs to, that children need to be protected more, and that you just have to really be aware. You can't just be making certain decisions. It's just,
I'm curious, since you told your story, have any other alleged victims come forward?
Not that I've seen, no, but honestly, people know to keep their kids away from him, and that's good enough for me. That's good enough for me.
The reason why I'm asking, just so you all know and just so the audience knows, is that usually when we're talking about sexual predators, by the time a sexual predator is caught, they have often had many, many victims prior to.
She is clocking the hell out of her. At first I was like, Doc, come on, come through. So this man, how old is, I'm gonna just call him OJ. Her ex-husband is like, what, 40, 47? So he has a couple of decades in there, and no one has came forward yet. Not saying that they won't, but no one has came forward yet. And I felt like the information that Dr. Spirit is offering right now is very, very important.
And so as we do sexual social histories, we really get into the cycle of abuse. There usually are decades worth of victims. Mm-hmm. So if he was just caught now, I would not be surprised. I was asking the question because I would not be surprised if other victims started to come forth.
I haven't seen anything.
That is very common in situations like this.
Wow.
And let's look out for that. Like, let's look out for that to see if there are other victims that come forward and things like that. Okay. Let's look out for that. I don't really say it doesn't mean that he didn't do it because no victims have came forward. I'm just saying, like, based off of what the doctor is saying and seeing how this is her profession and this is the field that she's in, she's saying that most likely abusers or predators like this have a cycle, and seeing how, I guess he's 50, he's almost 50. He has a few decades under his belt, y'all. He does. He has a few decades under his belt. So it would be interesting to see if anyone else steps forward to say that, or to back up the situation that she experienced.
Wow.
But you know what? Victims are often shamed. And that, like, yeah, I don't know if you all remember even when Cassie came forward about how things Diddy was doing, and people said, oh, she's a liar.
I just don't understand why she keeps referencing celebrities so much. She done reference Cat Williams, now Cassie. Interesting.
Took the video coming out for people to say, oh, well, maybe he was abusive. Maybe people always victim shame. No one wants to come and talk about this stuff.
And to that point, I'm glad you made the point, because as soon as that happened, as you said, for years, listen to the trail of abuse that we're hearing in that story over decades.
Right.
That's an excellent example of what we're talking about in alleged victims, because usually sexual abuse and these kinds of behaviors begin in childhood. Individuals test their limits. They don't just become full-blown, very aggressive, very cunning, conniving predators. They learn how to be that over time.
And I'm gonna remind you, this part right here could kill her case in court. That's why I don't know why she did this. And it makes me very upset, because if it's really about these kids and that man really did touch them kids, and you're doing this because you need money, when you have a family that's supporting you, you talk about your uncle and aunt was able to give you a job. You come from a good family. Your mama has a PhD. A lot of this shit ain't making sense to me, because this part right here could kill her case. And so you want me to think that she came on here and she was prioritizing her children? Absolutely not. No, she didn't. Absolutely not. So be so for real, because anyone can pull this up. And then if he doesn't have a pattern of previous abuse, or someone else was accusing him of touching them or doing something to them, then this could really like kill her case for real. It's awful. But let's continue.
They begin oftentimes with siblings or with cousins who are close in age, or with their younger siblings, friends when they have sleepovers. They do that with girlfriends in early adolescence. It is a progression that happens. And so I want everybody to recognize that it's not just for your story, Isis, but it's for people who are sitting at home thinking, I'm the only person that person tried this with. I'm the only person that was molested in my family. And as you talk about that intergenerational trauma, I hear you say that your mom suffered, that your grandmother suffered. So what we know is that there is a cycle of abuse, there is a cycle of victimhood, there is a cycle of behavior that unfortunately they did not get the help. They were not able to cover each other and ultimately then cover you. And so unfortunately now you and your children hopefully will be those legacy breakers, so that your children's children don't suffer a similar fate.
I think that
we're
it's
not
deeper.
Dealing with 5 generations.
I know a lot of y'all are always asking me, how do you find a good therapist? But this is a good therapist. This is a very good therapist. I like how patient she is. I like how she approaches things. She's not only revealing things to you, but she's educating you as she's revealing things to you when it comes to your situation. This is a really good therapist, y'all. So when you're out here shopping around for a therapist, this is a great, I would say, an example of what you should look for, because she's revealing patterns, but she's also educating you, which can help you educate other people as well. Like, she's a really, really good therapist. Okay, let's continue.
It's deeper than mental health. This is a spirit. This is a generational curse. This is deeper than therapy. Only God can fix this.
Deeper than therapy.
Well, I will have to leave you to your belief system. If that's the case, then that means that those who are sexual abusers will not be able to be helped.
That's not what I'm saying. I said
healed.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in addition to that, your faith has to be a part. I'm an advocate of therapy. I'm in therapy. I mean, I'm a big advocate.
Helped.
That's not what I'm saying. I said
Healed.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying this is deeper than therapy. Only God can fix this.
Well, I will have to leave you to your belief system. If that's the case, then that means that those who are sexual abusers will not be able to be helped.
That's not what I'm saying. I said
healed.
that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that in addition to that, your faith has to be a part. I'm an advocate of therapy. I'm in therapy. I'm a big advocate of therapy. But what I'm saying is, for the decisions that my parents made to be chalked up to the fact that they may have not gotten help, I think that it is even deeper than that. I think that it's truly spiritual warfare that is going on, and that's a big part of this.
my God.
Well, I'm hoping that for everybody out there, whether you are someone who has been abused, whether you are someone who struggles with feelings or thoughts that you struggle with around attraction to younger individuals, around power and control, around sexual assault, I want you to recognize that there is help available no matter where you sit on the spectrum. If you know that you have struggles that you need help with, there are people who want to help you. Whether you utilize scripture and the word and you seek out Christian therapists who can help you with that, or whether you look for individuals who are Muslim, who are Buddhist, who are Baptist, who are atheist, who are agnostic, wherever you need to get your healing from, I want you to know that there are people out here who can and who want to help you.
What's up?
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next man. He's anonymous. He doesn't have a name, but I think I've seen his content before. Okay, so he came on to ask her questions about why she shared her story online, which I thought was another great question.
Ooh.
We sure can.
Yeah, we can hear you, brother. Give me your age and your location.
Okay. Kind of I'm anonymous, and that's not my name. I'm using somebody else's Zoom right now. Sorry, but like really quick question.
Hold on, wait. Give me you say your age and location is anonymous?
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm sorry. Is that a problem?
Yeah.
I mean,
Listen, I love his sweater. Oh my God, why don't men dress like this? Gosh, this sweater looks so good on him. Damn. It's just, it's festive. It looks good. It fits him just right. It just looks really good. Hey. Okay.
And stay anonymous. He's trying to stay out of trouble. Let him stay right
okay. Dr. Spirit said you're trying to stay out of trouble. Let's go ahead and let him rock. Then go ahead. What's your question, brother?
It plays into the social media aspect. I think what happened to your children is absolutely horrible, and I think to get on such a large platform and share your story is difficult. I don't know that I could comprehend how difficult it is to share this particular story. Yeah. But how do you reconcile sharing that story as it is your story, but it's also your children's story? So now 2.4 million or however many other people see that will now know that that happened to them at the hands of their father or stepfather. How difficult is that?
It's very difficult, and it's actually something that I struggled with back and forth before I even recorded the video, because I didn't want to put my children's trauma out there for everybody. But honestly, I felt God gave me no other choice. Like I keep saying,
this is crazy.
This isn't about just us. It's not about just us. It had to be said.
There you go, Sean. I mean, that's...
Why is she making it about everyone else? Like, this ain't her story. This is... I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. She's trying to make it seem like, oh, this is a testimony that needed to be told. I mean, I just, not enough time has even passed for it to be a testimony, in my opinion. Like, I just felt, I guess.
It seems like you're going to be brief and brilliant on that one. It's really
I don't know what else to say. That's all it is. This isn't about views. It's not about anything other than I thought that maybe, YouTube is my only source of income. I was like, maybe I will help some of my community in updating.
So YouTube is her only source of income. Interesting.
Them just to be aware that this could happen. I had no idea that this would go viral to this extent. I had a small YouTube channel. I still do. I never expected all this to happen, but God kept saying, you need to tell the truth, because I glorified this man in public. I made it seem like it was a fairy tale, and in a way it was. It seemed like it was, but it wasn't. It wasn't.
And Dr. Spirit, just to give you an idea, because I know you are really in the dark about the situation, the purpose of ISIS's YouTube channel
Like this woman is being super emotional. No one is really moved by her emotions. Like everyone is just like even Brianna, the girl that was in the hoodie, she was like, I don't know. I guess okay.
Channel was to help ladies find a husband.
Find love within a year.
Absolutely. Which is obviously the story line that she had herself. And that was what most of the content was about, which is, again, why she is now communicating, why she felt compelled to communicate that it wasn't what you said it was.
Well, there was things going on that I wasn't even aware of that this man was doing.
Yeah.
He played everyone around me. Everyone around me was shocked. They couldn't believe that he would do such a thing. He seemed like such a good dad, the perfect provider. People looked at us like, oh, they're such a beautiful family. Everywhere we went, that's all we heard. What a beautiful family.
Do you see whenever she's like trying to convince people, she starts to do the eye thing again? I don't know, y'all. Yeah. Unbeknownst to me, yeah. Like, but I told y'all earlier, she tends to do that a lot. It's like she can't just tell her story. She needs them to see her eyes. Like she uses that as a form of trying to get them on her side. Like, yeah, like she's seeking approval from her story. I don't know. It's a little manipulative, not gonna lie.
I would never have expected this man to do this. And in my research, I've realized that this is one of the most common forms of sexual abuses, fathers, unfortunately. And people are not talking about it because of the shame. It's so embarrassing, and I hate that I, have had to expose what have happened to my children, but I'm just praying that even if it helps one person, it was worth it.
Oh.
There you go, Shyla. Thank you so much for your question, brother.
She had a tear that fell. That was the second tear that I saw. There was a tear that it fell. But one thing I'm noticing though about her is when she really does like allow herself to cry, she never uses her napkin. Like she just lets the tear just drop. And remember when, and I didn't know how to feel about it because I was like, girl, okay, you reaching, like you really reaching. But remember when the niece was like, girl, you doing all of this with the napkin and stuff. But now I'm starting to think like I'm starting to see where the niece is coming from. Cause I'm like, oh girl, how you gonna say she's crying fake tears and stuff? But I don't know. Did she run out of tissue? She didn't have any more tissue left? Like what's going on? Okay, what is going on? Yeah, I'm looking at the flames too. But the doctor and this gentleman down here, he doesn't seem, I don't know. They don't seem moved at all. Convinced, nothing.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. You have a good night. Man, first of all, man, Dr. Spirit, I thank you so much for coming up on here and joining us here tonight. Obviously,
let's get into the doctor's advice that the doctor's about to give her some advice, and she's not gonna like it.
Obviously, it's a very brief assessment. Just give me some of your final thoughts as we close out the show, and you really just address ISIS and the people that might just want to hear your words.
Well, ISIS, you're not going to take any suggestions that I have, but you are a part of the internet culture. You are a part of this is therapeutic for you. But I would say, just please consider fading to black for just a little while to give yourself time and your children time to heal outside of the public eye. If God called you to tell your story, to expose the truth, then hallelujah for
That's
your
all
obedience.
I answered to.
You have done
That's all
your
I answered
part.
to.
And now perhaps the time has come. If you have truly done your part, then go and heal and allow yourself to focus on you and your children now, and to come up with a plan for what you do before this man and now after this man. because he will be a part of you all's story for a lifetime. I would also say to anyone else who is out there, if you have found yourself triggered tonight, if you recognize that ISIS is telling your story, if you recognize that your story has yet to be told, get into somebody's chair. Let healing be possible for you.
Yes.
If you recognize that you are a person who at any point in your past or in your present has struggled with sexual feelings that you don't feel like are in your control, that don't feel the healthiest for you, whether it is around attraction to children, whether it is around power and...
Okay, I got somewhere to go, y'all, so we're going to have to speed this up. So this is the lie that I think I caught her in. Y'all, I was in the shower and I said, I was in the shower because I done watched this twice. I was in the shower and I was like, wait a minute, didn't she say earlier? I'm like, hold on, let me grab my phone. So I had to write the timestamp down. Okay, I believe here she talks about how she states here that her mom didn't believe her, but I could have sworn that she stated that she comes from a family of strong women who defend their own, right?
Dr. Spirit.
Everybody drop a love in the chat for Dr. Spirit. And man, Isis, I thank you as well, know, for coming up here because I just know this took a lot. I know this is heavy. I know this is scary. It's a lot of people in the chat. It's a lot of people in your comments. It's a lot of people, giving their 2 cents in your life, on your children's life, on your entire family's life, at this point. So just curious. I mean, is there anything that, you want to say to the people before we go ahead and let you go?
I did this for the victims. And when I saw the victims in my comments that said my mom never believed me, even if it was just one comment, but it was so many, I knew I did the right thing. I knew putting the video out was the right thing. God has shown me over and over that this has been the right thing. And for everybody who wants to say, I need to take a break, please write me a check for me to take a break from taking care of my children. Please do. That's what I have to say about that. Okay? So I'm going to continue to show up. I'm going to continue to speak my truth. I'm going to continue to be obedient because obedience is better than sacrifice. And I'm going to continue to do what I'm called to do, regardless of how anybody feels about it, because God is using me and I'm just here to do what he tells me to do. I'm going to continue to do so.
Is it you right now? Are you pretty much do you have full custody of your 5 babies?
Yes, through the protective order, I do. Yes.
Okay. So I can imagine that's heavy on you right now.
Yes. Yes.
Just responsibility and financially.
Oh my gosh, we've been struggling so bad. This man is not paying any type of support on time. He sends some of it. I made maybe
Baby, this is a lie, y'all, because if this man isn't paying, then he would be dragged back into court for not paying. He has to pay. And if he is going through a divorce right now that involves custody and things like that, he's going to be on his best behavior. He just is, because I'm pretty sure his lawyer is telling him that. So this part, I don't really believe. I'm sorry, because it's mandated. Like, you can go out there, you can look yourself. It's mandatory that he has to keep up the payments on her lifestyle, basically, just her lifestyle, her kids, everything.
$100 a month from YouTube when we broke up. I had nothing. I still am fighting every day. Even GoFundMe. I don't know what's wrong with them. They won't even let me get the money out. I don't know if people have been reporting it or being weird. And the devil has been working so hard. People just don't know. And it's because God is using me. God wants me to tell this story. And the enemy gets mad every single time. And it's worth it.
Well,
I really appreciate you.
No, it really. And listen, I don't know where you stand, but for all my people in support, I want you to go ahead and support the sister, because obviously, man, it's 5 babies she's taking care of at this point. So go ahead, Lionel, pull up the Cash App. I think you've already had it on your channel. I think people already been supporting on GoFundMe, but Cash App, here's how we're going to do it.
Wrong
That's
Cash
the wrong
App.
one. Wrong one. Pull up the segment header. That's ours.
Yeah.
So just pull up.
Hit ours too. Hit both of them.
That's funny. But yeah, this is how you take care of ISIS here on the channel. That's on the screen here when you want to go ahead and take care of this sister here.
Yeah.
And again, I just appreciate you for coming out here.
Absolutely. Thank you for having the courage to come, share your story. And I know a lot of people have different feedback, but guys, we study YouTube, and it is absolutely no way that she would have been able to know that with her current subscribership that video would get millions and millions of.
No, but she knew that it was going to get something though. Maybe not as big as she thought, but something.
Views. So it's not for the money. It wasn't for the views. It was literally impossible to say that.
Because if it wasn't about that, she could have. She didn't have to monetize that video, but she did.
You even had people in the comments like, "Listen, the algorithm must be in your favor because this thing is
God. It's not. It's God.
Wow.
It's not. I saw it. People say God wanted everyone to see this video. God is bigger than the algorithm. My God is bigger than the algorithm.
God is it.
So everybody it seems like you're more mad that the video went viral than anything. Mm-hmm. Because if it got 2 views, you wouldn't be talking about why are you on here.
This like she is a gaslighter. She know damn well that the reason why we were concerned was because she put her baby's trauma out here for the world to see without their consent. That's what it was about. And a lot of people saw that. Like even the gentleman that was here, he said that his mom was keeping up with the situation and she's not even on YouTube. So that should tell you something. Like a lot of people saw that video because a lot of people shared it and see those views, but then people were chopping up the video, sharing it on TikTok. Like a lot of people have seen that. A lot of people have seen her video.
Right.
No, that's perspective.
Yeah. And again, shout out to you. Thank you so much for joining us. And guys, hit the sub button because this is what helps us to command such a powerful testimonies and amazing guests. So please hit that subscribe button and make sure you hit the like button as well. Shout out to Dr. Spirit again. And shout out to all the initiates who joined us this evening for the chat and everybody who joined the hotline live. And thank you for being respectful. Thank you for asking those, because really, to be honest, those 4 to 5 questions, I think if there was any questions we did not ask, it was literally the questions that were asked
came from the community. And y'all came in to ask some hard questions, so that's really what it's about. That's why we have the hotline, so we can really bring the community in, all the initiates in. So shout out to everybody that's a member, of the channel that continues to provide. Shout out to everybody that provides to us as well, to our Cash App, our PayPal, every super chat. Again, it is a tremendous impact to the growth of our channel. So we really appreciate you guys. And I just want you to know too, I think it's important to say it's a disclaimer right now because this is still an open case.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is still an open case. So first of all, it's bold. We're going to have this conversation in the middle of an open case. So I appreciate you.
True.
There's no, just a disclaimer, because first of all, no more lawsuits for hardly initiated. This is not the admission of guilt.
Yeah.
So please listen. Don't slap no case on hardly initiated because we already got enough attorney fees. But I'm hoping this is a topic. Sexual assault is a topic that we don't really touch as a platform. And it's something that is so common that we just randomly hear in people's testimonies on other subjects. So this is about as deep as we ever got on it. And I hope that somebody in here was able to get some game on top of getting your testimony here. So we love you guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. We'll be back next Monday. We have an incredible lineup coming up next Monday for you guys.
Okay, did I not listen to that well? Let me go back. Because I was in the shower. Maybe I misheard her, but I could have sworn she said her mom didn't believe her.
I did this for the victims. And when I saw the victims in my comments that said my mom never believed me.
Okay, she's talking about
even if it was just one comment, but it was so many. I knew I did the right thing. I knew putting the video out was the right thing. God has shown me over and over that this has been the right thing. And for everybody who wants to say, I need to take a break, please write me a check for me to take a break from taking care of my children. Please do.
Girl, you better go fill out a W-2. So no, she didn't say that. Yo, I was in the shower and I'm like, huh? Wait a minute. Did she say her mother didn't believe her? Okay, so no. Her mother didn't say that. I want to make sure that I'm clearing that up because listen, we have integrity over here. If she didn't say it, she didn't say it, y'all. If she didn't say it, she didn't say it. Okay. But I guess she did it for victims whose mother didn't. Okay. So we just wanted to clear that up. But again, the whole check thing and her reasoning behind why she put this information on the internet, I just don't agree with it. Also, her husband has not been charged. Still, I've been checking. I checked last night. She appealed the civil case, which was the protective order that she was flashing. She appealed it. And we'll see if it stays open. But seeing how last year she was in and out of the courthouse and her husband were filing DV charges against each other, I think it's gotten to a point where the court doesn't really take her serious. But let's play this here. Wait a minute. Oh my gosh, wait a minute. I could have sworn. Why is it not playing with the audio? Oh, I wanted to leave off on that. Let me see if I can find it. Let me just see what it says. If I can find it. Oh, here it is. Hold on, let me see. Because I wanted to play this again.
Y'all want to see my protective order? Y'all want to see my protective order right here? I'm going to cover my daughter's name. In the case of a vulnerable adult and a minor child, a relative, there is a preponderance of the evidence to believe that the respondent committed the following acts of abuse: statutory abuse of a child, R word, or a statutory S offense.
Now, what she's reading to you is what was documented. Basically, she made a claim and the court documented it, typed it up for her, and gave her the paperwork and granted her the protective order. So she made a claim and she's reading the claim. She's not reading what investigators found, what the judge is confirming, what the court is confirming. She didn't do that. She made a claim, and the claim is what she is showing you, but there has to be an investigation. And so what was weird was when this whole situation happened, she's showing this protective order and the case was closed. And we would assume that there would be a protective order and a criminal case that would be open, but we're not seeing any of that. So again, it could be that it's not available yet. That's a possibility. But again, let's remember that the plot here is neither the niece nor ISIS have denied that those girls were touched. And I believe that that's what we should stay focused on. I don't agree with the decisions and choices that she's making. And the reason is because ISIS has a pattern of putting herself first, greed first, and money first, before really prioritizing her kids. And for her to speak out on a platform, like I said, it could ruin her case. A prosecutor would never encourage you to do this. An attorney would never encourage you to do this, and neither would a social worker. So if it's really about her kids and she's doing this for her kids, then she wouldn't have spoken out so soon, seeing that there is an alleged criminal investigation going on behind the scenes that we're just not able to pull up online. So we'll see. She did file an appeal regarding this civil case back on, I believe it's December the 6th. So now the case is back open, but it was originally closed. And so we'll just have to see what happens. We'll have to see what the truth is. But like I said, the plot here is that something happened to those girls, and we just need to sit back and just wait to see what the truth is. So that's all that I have regarding this video. Please give the video a thumbs up, and if there are any changes or updates, I'll definitely come back on here and talk about it. But thank you for tuning in, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in my next one.